and the best company to work with is Birch Gold. So text the word PROTECT to 989898 to get everything you need to know about protecting your savings with gold.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 6:03. We are expecting another warm day today. Sunny skies, our high today around 93 degrees. Cloudy tonight with a low near 72. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a high of 92. And then the outlook for Thursday, sunshine and a high of 93 degrees. It's going to be a hot one, and we're expecting that hot weather to continue for the next several days. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories that we are working on for you in this 6 o'clock hour. Friday's end of session deadline is looming large as Missouri lawmakers try to approve a new congressional redistricting map.
With time running short, the Missouri House passes a newly proposed map for the state's 8 congressional districts that, if the Senate agrees, could be used in elections later this year. The plan approved by the state House is projected to continue the Republican 6-2 advantage over Democrats in Congress. It marks an attempt to avoid court intervention and break the stalemate with the state Senate before Friday's deadline. John Marsh, 93.9 The Eagle.
All right, John, thank you. Now, this map splits Columbia and Boone County into 2 districts. It's a little different than the map that Representative Chuck Basie talked to us about last week. This one, according to reporter Emily Manley, reports the boundary is in downtown Columbia. It's actually where that split happens at Columbia and Boone County. Again, it heads over to the Senate. They have until Friday to pass the bill. The Senate also approving a bill requiring voters to show photo identification at the polls. The senators voting for the bill Monday. That final vote 23 to 11. Hundreds of motorcyclists from across mid-Missouri escorting 95 Honor Flight veterans from Kingdom City to Columbia last night. It was a huge crowd, literally hundreds of motorcyclists, as they returned home to a hero's welcome. The veterans. Zimmer Radio Group's Trevor Morgan was at the Courtyard by Marriott last night for the homecoming. He reports 387 motorcyclists were involved. Each veteran's name was read out loud. Bagpipes were there. This was Honor Flight 62, first one since 2019 due to the COVID pandemic. Missouri lawmakers in both parties said the American Rescue Plan Act money will help bring the state into the 21st century in terms of IT in Jefferson City. Lawmakers have held hearings on the state's outdated computer systems. They learned some departments are still using fax machines. Others are working with COBOL, a 61-year-old program. House Budget Committee Chairman Cody Smith says federal money will help. He says an incident on the House floor involving trying to get data shows how bad the computers are.
And that conversation we had recently, moments ago, about the Department of Revenue and their inability to project to us exactly how that tax cut might work for respective taxpayers, I think is a good indication that we are not as technologically capable as we would like to think we are.
More than $3 billion, billion with a B, in American Rescue Plan Act funding is now on the governor's desk. ARPA was signed by President Biden. A Missouri congressman who is the House Subcommittee on Consumer Protection's top Republican says part of growing up and becoming a responsible citizen is understanding debt has to be repaid. St. Elizabeth Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer tells 93.9 The Eagle he's watching closely to see if the president proceeds on canceling student debt. The congressman is asking about those who have repaid their student loans. He wants to know how that is fair. Supporters say relief from student debt would help the young people buy homes and grow the economy. And a parolee who is charged with a weekend Columbia murder is still on the run this morning. Columbia police say a warrant has been issued for 35-year-old Isaac Bryant for second-degree murder. Our news is brought to you this hour by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning. For all of your cooling needs, log on to airserve.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 6:07. In sports, the St. Louis Cardinals were idle on Monday. They open up a 3-game home series tonight against the Baltimore Orioles out of the American League. That'll be tonight. First pitch, 6:45 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Speaking of Baltimore, they beat the Kansas City Royals 6-1 on Monday. All 6 runs in that 5th inning. The Royals head to Arlington to open up a series against the Texas Rangers tonight at Globe Life Field. First pitch will be at 7:05. And in hockey, the Blues facing Minnesota tonight. Game 5 of their best-of-7 series. Puck will drop at 8:30 tonight at XL Arena in St. Paul. Series is tied at 2. Now, there are a couple of options for you to see the game on television tonight. Obviously, you can watch on Bally Sports Midwest. John Kelly will have the call here for all essential purposes locally. It's also going to be national on ESPN as well tonight. Again, 8:30, the puck will drop tonight. This will be a crucial game in St. Paul coming up tonight. Sports brought to you by Club Car Wash. ClubCarWash.com. Find a location near you. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:08.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track meteorologist John Ross. It was record-breaking heat on Monday, and we've got another good chance at record-breaking heat here on Tuesday. With abundant sunshine, it's going to be another hot one out there, another hot and humid day, and that could be said also for Wednesday and Thursday, both days. Seeing highs in the low 90s, expect chances for storms on Friday to lower highs into the 80s. I'm meteorologist John Ross, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on 93.9 The Eagle.
All right, John, thank you. And our weather is also brought to you by Club Car Wash. ClubCarWash.com. Find a location near you. Here in Columbia, it's already warm, 73.
93.9 Eagle Eye Traffic.
Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job, post your job opening. Today, our roads have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue, give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle.
What is happening?
Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Radio Group World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, news director Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you. Get ready, pal.
And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
Having two congresspeople, one of which is, Congressman Luke DeMeyer's been there for a decade and is, presumably is going to be the chair of financial services. If we take a majority, having a guy like that on your team and batting for your home county is something that I'm absolutely fine with.
Senate Majority Leader Caleb Rowden talking to us in the press yesterday regarding another redistricting map moving out of the House, going to the Senate. Final days of the legislative session. I want to see the map. Exactly what does this map do, Mr. Hauswirth?
It's one of those, exactly. It's one of those things that basically, unless we're actually physically there, which I used to be every day, it's really hard to see it. You can't really tell from the internet. Emily Manley has done a really nice job, television reporter who works for TV around the state. She is reporting the boundary is in downtown Columbia, but as far as where, I just can't quite tell. And even Chuck Basie, when he was on our show last week, if you remember, he said he had a hard time figuring it out, and he had to rely on what an analyst told him about what was happening with Midway. So it's somewhere in downtown Columbia.
Local Rep David Tyson Smith talking to Hannah Falcon. With our news partners at ABC 17 yesterday. His description
divides Boone County down Broadway. So if you're on one side of Broadway, you're in one congressional district. If you walk across the street, you're in another congressional district. It divides Stevens College, divides Boone Hospital Center.
He's accurate. And listen, when it comes to redistricting, you're always going to have to divide something somewhere, whether you're talking about a city council seat in Fulton or Jefferson City or Columbia or a congressional seat somewhere, and you try your best to do it. And this is the best after all of these months and all of these fights. And I don't know, 3,912 different maps have been. Am I exaggerating on that number?
Seems like a lot, but I mean, it's basically it.
And a lot of the fights have been over which county gets divided. And so in St. Louis, that was part of the initial fighting was, they didn't want Jefferson County or St. Charles County or St. Louis County to be divided. And so now it's Boone County that's divided. But yeah, no, you're not wrong. There's been, a number of maps for those.
Sweet, I get a point already.
You do.
Not
you
wrong.
might be exaggerating slightly.
Well, and I know some people will get mad. So if we get for example, Boone County, if we get two different reps in Congress, I'm cool with that. I really am. And here's why. It's more interest. Now, what could be an odd challenge if one day that gets split. Let's say we have a Dem rep in Congress in our district and a conservative intelligent rep in Congress at the same time. That could be That could be odd.
I don't think that's going to happen anytime in the near future, just with the fact that where the boundaries are going to be for the other counties and the districts. I mean, this is a solid 6, but your point's very well taken, because that could be problematic in that they would have different views on it, but different views on perhaps everything. But realistically, this is a solid 6-2 map, so I wouldn't see that happening. In what you said there is spot on. It's true, but you also could make the argument it also doesn't give us one voice. I mean, I could see it, but it's tough. And David Tyson Smith, the way he summed that up in the soundbite, I can't say it any better. Splits Boone Hospital Center and also Stevens College, and probably going further down would essentially split the downtown.
I think the other thing that would be really interesting to do, and I haven't done it yet because it's not even 7 o'clock in the morning, but to talk to people at Stevens College and Boone Hospital, say, hey, if this splits you guys, how does that work as far as governance of the school and governance of Boone County Hospital? That would be an interesting take, and I wish I had that for you right now. But again, it's not even 7 o'clock in the morning. So, and I think, or the other option is let it go to court. Take your chances there. And we've had more than one conservative state lawmaker on the show saying, you know, if it goes to court, I feel good that it would still be a 6-2 map. I wouldn't bet a week's worth of Hannah the producer's salary on it, though, is what they've said. So now even lawmakers are willing to bet a week's worth of Hannah the producer's salary on these things. You're welcome. And a lot of our state lawmakers, thank you, too.
Chuck Basie basically said if it goes to the courts, it's not good for people like me, talking about him, and essentially saying it would not be good for conservative Republicans. That's what he said on air.
He will stay in handcuffs and shackles while he's in that cell. If he wants to sue me for violating his civil rights, so be it.
I don't know that Alabama Sheriff Rick Singleton, Lauderdale County, Alabama, he's the sheriff. That couple, that Vicky White and that dude, she was the jailer who helped that dude escape. They had been on the run. They were caught yesterday, high-speed chase, crash. She apparently successfully took her own life. And he's saying, this guy, he says, I'll keep him in shackles and handcuffs in the jail cell. I love the attitude. Let the ACLU sue me. I don't care about violating his civil rights at this point. Have you heard the story about this woman? She was like, it was like they had a retirement party ready to go in the break room.
What?
Yeah, that day. She had a retirement party. They'd put up streamers. It was like one of those parties you might see on the TV show The Office. They had streamers and cake ready to go. Happy retirement, Vicky. She sells her home, buys a car, and takes off with his dude, 20 years her junior. And they go on the run, and it ends less than a week later. She takes her own life. I always wonder, what's in the mindset of those people? You're that close, man. You're retiring. You've got all these benefits because you worked, in effect, for a government entity.
But she was in love.
Exactly. She was in love, man. So he's in jail, probably in a jail cell, in shackles, in handcuffs, all at the same time. I would imagine probably one of the more difficult things to do in that situation would be go into the bathroom. This sheriff in Lauderdale County, I dig his attitude. I don't care. I don't care if I violate his civil rights at this point. And so what's going to be next? Well, authority is going to go through this. She ultimately is not going to have to pay any legal price because she's dead. Did I tell you I used to date a bank robber? Before she was a bank robber.
Did she steal your heart?
No. Oh, God, no. I should rephrase that. We didn't date. We hung out for a while.
Oh, so she was like a friend with benefits.
Hannah? My dear, sweet Hannah. No.
Am I wrong?
Yeah. Yeah.
There are other terms for that. We won't use them on the radio.
Her name was Cindy Van Hollen, and I met her through a radio station event in Idaho. And she was a nurse. And several years later, she ended up working for the prison system in Idaho. And as it turns out, she ends up with an inmate. This dude gets out of jail on parole. She moves to California with this guy. And she ends up robbing banks. Matter of fact, they gave her a name because she was such a prolific bank robber. They called her like the hair bandit. And she'd go and put on wigs and things like that and rob these banks. And it's one of those, it was shocking because when I found out about this, it was like, Cynthia Van Hollet ended up with a dude in prison and is robbing banks? Because you know these people, and it's the same thing with this Vicky White. All these people are like,
what? But you didn't have there was no indication when you guys were hanging out.
No, and I
Oh, you have photos.
Oh, so, yeah, I brought, because I thought, I tell a lot of stories here on the air, and they're all true. But sometimes I tell some stories that I think maybe somebody doesn't believe this. And Hannah knows I'm big on proof.
Oh, you are. So I Googled her name, and a New York Times article from 2011 came up. And just the first line of the article is, she had a penchant for clumsy wigs, traveled with her cat, and worked as a prison nurse in Idaho when she was not crisscrossing the Pacific Northwest robbing banks.
Brandon, you need to raise your standard. She hangs out with her cat or something? Yikes. Now, wait, before you get to the photos, I do need to point out that the photos came in one of those old 1-hour photo envelopes that I have not seen.
That is retro.
In a long time.
Hannah, have you ever seen one of these?
Yes, I have.
1 hour. But remember the excitement? Because it used, back in the old days, you'd go and you drop your pictures off and you had to wait a few days. And then we got those 1 hour photo developing checks that were everywhere. They were like Starbucks coffee. They were everywhere. And that was like magic. You mean I can go, drop off my film, go buy some Crocs, and then come back and my photos will be ready in 1 hour?
And get 3 good photos out of 24? Yes.
I remember as a kid having disposable cameras to play with and thinking oh man, I got a bunch of good shots. And you get it back and it's all blurry pictures that you can't tell what they're of.
And that's one of the cool things, obviously, now everybody has a camera in their pocket that provides instant gratification.
Cool is not the word that most people would use, I think.
But you don't have that magic anymore of waiting for those pictures, because it used to be a thing. You'd sit and you'd wait because you'd want to know, how did that picture come out? How did I do there? Did that sunset come out right? So, Hannah, if you can, I'll show the pictures if you don't mind zooming in. There's no addresses on here. But this first picture...
There's 20 people in that picture.
Yeah, now you're exposing everyone else for hanging out with a bank robber.
Yeah.
Also, this article says she robbed 19 banks in 4 states.
She's pretty good.
She's like,
and in this picture, I'm actually... you'll see there's an odd reaction. By the way, you should watch the YouTube channel because you get behind-the-scenes info like this. You'll notice there's a reaction on her face in this group photo.
Yeah, there is.
Because I'm goosing her in the picture.
Of course.
Hey, I was still drinking then, man. That's how I...
Wait, so in this article from 2011, it says she was 47.
Yeah, so today she would be... Yeah, she was old. Most of the people... Yeah.
You see where I'm going with this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I've always had a thing for older women, and here's why. Because they're more mature, and they know what they want. You didn't.
What
have
about
to putz
now,
around.
though? Now that you're a little older?
My kid, we used to go, when I'd pick him up, on my weekly visits with him, and every other week, and we would drive by this nursing home all the time. And my kid,
gosh.
I know, even at 10 years old, he said, "Are we going to pick up one of your dates?"
Oh, my gosh.
He's got a phenomenal sense of humor. Coming up, by the way, school board meeting last night. They talked about this restraint policy, and 2 things there. Number one, so there's a lawsuit. As a matter of fact, Angela Jolly, former teacher at CPS, is suing the school district not over the restraint policy, but she's saying they fired me after I exposed some of the alleged atrocities that were happening in the Columbia Public School District. And the other thing, they had to change this by law, by the way. So it's not necessarily that they were going, we should look at how we do these things. They had to do it by law. Coming up, Daily D.C. Rundown with Stephanie Bell. What's in the headlines today as it relates to Washington, D.C.?
2 pieces of bipartisan legislation?
That's coming up. We'll do that about...
Can you imagine if we go for this mandatory vaccine?
The Glenn Beck Program.
America, dear God Almighty, you will deserve everything you get.
Glenn Beck.
You deserve it.
Weekdays at noon.
We're sheep.
On 93.9 The Eagle.
This is Gary Link, and whether you're a college student headed home for the summer or a family looking forward to a summer vacation, stop by Custom Complete Automotive and Tires to get your air conditioning system checked and serviced by their professionally trained technicians to ensure a cool and comfortable driving experience the entire summer. Cruise with confidence.
We'll take care of your car so it takes care of you. Custom Complete Automotive, unbeatable.
I'm Brian Kermsey with Witt Print Shop. We're averaging about 4 to 5 brand new customers a week. Most of those are coming because they've heard our ads on the radio. We actually have the customers coming in and singing our jingle. If you come in as a new customer and sing our jingle, I'll be happy to give you a 10% discount on your first job. Witt Print Shop. It's time to get with it. That's horrible.
Witt Print Shop. It's time to get with it. So much more than ink and paper.
WittPrintShop.com.
ShopMidmo.com. Savings just a click away.
Get up to 50% off products and services you use all the time. Discounted gift certificates from outstanding local businesses like Blue Taco, CC's City Broiler, Big Whiskey, and more. Save time, save money. Just a click away at
ShopMidmo.com. ShopMidmo.com.
Not only can water cause serious damage to the structure of your home, but it can also damage the valuables inside. Hi, I'm Michelle, and my husband Chris and I are the owners of A1 Foundation Solutions. We'll show you the importance of waterproofing, which will protect your home and give you peace of mind. If you haven't had your home waterproofed in the past 10 years, it's time to get a free estimate from A1 Foundation Solutions, where your home is our home. Find us online at a1foundationsolutions.com.
Got chronic joint pain? Not having success with steroids, but trying to avoid surgery? Well, thankfully, there's a better way, and it's now available here from the medical professionals at QC Kinetics. Hey, it's Branden Rathert. I'm talking about new therapies, advanced, all-natural biologics, regenerative treatments that can restore and repair damaged joint tissue, providing lasting relief with no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in precision regenerative medicine with over 100 clinics across America and literally thousands of satisfied patients. If you've got joint pain due to arthritis, knee pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, just don't think the old ways of dealing with pain are the only ways. You need to learn more about these new biologic therapy options that can change your life. Call QC Kinetics now. It's a free consultation with local medical professionals. 573-545-5588. That's 573-545-5588. 573-545-5588.
Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. Folks go crazy for Funko Pops. And on Sunday, May 15th, when the Cardinals host the Giants, you'll go crazy for one, too. That day, 25,000 fans entering with a ticket will add the Ozzie Smith Funko Pop, exclusive to their collection, thanks to Coca-Cola and Schnucks. It's Sunday, May 15th. The Cardinals, the Giants, and Ozzie Smith Funko Pop, exclusive. Good seats remain. Get your tickets today at Cardinals.com.
Dryer Shoe Store is recognizing our healthcare providers in their efforts. Thanks to all the healthcare providers and the hours you put in every day on your feet. Starting May 9th through the 14th, bring in your medical ID badge and take 20% off your purchase at Dryer Shoe Store. Take care of your feet as well as you do others by buying the proper footwear. Use your medical ID badge for 20% off at Dryer Shoe Store May 9th through the 14th, downtown on 9th Street by the Blue Dome.
Dryer Shoe Store, Dryer Shoe Store.
The Randy Tobler Show.
If Joe Biden and the DNC think that forgiving part of student loan is some kind of magic secret weapon leading up to the midterms, they've got another thing coming. Too many people, including yours truly, who worked extra jobs to pay for their student loans, and for those of their children in some cases, are going to be mighty angry, mighty energized to go out and vote against the Democrats.
The Randy Tobler Show. Weekdays 4 to 6 on 93.9 The Eagle. This is Wake Up Columbia, featuring Branden Rathert on 93.9 The Eagle.
These thugs have no business at the private homes of any government officials, these Supreme Court justices or anyone else. These thugs who dox the justices should be embarrassed and ashamed.
Senator Ted Cruz The release of the decision, apparently the draft of that opinion. By the way, Christopher Arps, who worked for Ted Cruz, knows him very well. Christopher Arps is here, 6:35. One of the things we're going to be talking about, in addition to some issues affecting us here in Missouri. But that's really the lead story in this morning's Daily D.C. Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
So a bipartisan bill passed the Senate yesterday. It's now headed over to the House, and it basically puts Supreme Court justices on the same footing as some of the legislative and executive officials. It makes certain the 9 justices are provided security. And especially, I guess, it's a technical change, so there's no funding associated with it, but it allows the Supreme Court law enforcement to provide around-the-clock security to immediate family members. So with this ramp up and the protests, it's just, and I'm glad to see that, right? We already provide, like the article notes, provide some of the security for some of our more higher profile legislative folks. And in the past, I don't think we've had to worry as much, but with these protests, they really have gotten kind of scary.
So there's 2 things right now that Democrats and Republicans in Washington, D.C. agree on. Safety for SCOTUS justices, and the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. 2 things they agree on.
A third thing, they're also agreeing on helping Ukraine. So Joe Biden yesterday signed a bipartisan measure to reboot the World War II era Lend-Lease program. And although he had proposed $33 billion in aid for Ukraine, Democrats are pushing for $40 billion in military and humanitarian aid. Everyone kind of agrees we need to support Ukraine, and we are just throwing money as fast as we can over that way. Also, Trump's endorsement record is on the table today. I guess he was saying last week he went 22-0. Some articles have said he went 55-0. Not really sure. That streak's probably going to break when we get to Georgia. But today we're looking at West Virginia and Nebraska. There's a congressional district race that's pretty tight where he has made an endorsement. And then also there's a congressional race and a gubernatorial race in Nebraska where he has made endorsements. And we will be watching those very closely.
And that might be one of those things I have doubted for a while. The power of a Trump endorsement, in my opinion, has been maybe it's not as valuable as some people think, and I could potentially be wrong, and that's okay, because you know what? It's an opinion.
You wrong?
Yeah. Come on.
He's just saying this so that way if something goes against a Trump endorsement, he can say, I told you so.
Well, I'll bet you $1 million. I'll tell you I told you so tomorrow when it comes to that Georgia race. Christopher Arps is going to be joining us, redistricting, how it affects us here in mid-Missouri, some other things that are going down. He's here at 6:35. ABC 17 Storm Track forecast. Up to 93 today, 92 tomorrow, 93 Thursday. Right now it's 112. Stop by Club Car Wash, get an unlimited membership. They're only $20 a month. Just check out details. Go to clubcarwash.com.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. An Alabama corrections officer who helped an inmate escape is dead. The inmate's in custody in Indiana.
Corrections officer Vicky White and murder suspect Casey White, no relation, were spotted at a hotel, and then they fled and led police on a high-speed chase that ended a few minutes later with a wrecked Cadillac. Casey White willingly gave himself up, but Vicky White, with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head, we learned she was taken to a hospital where she died.
Fox's Trace Gallagher. President Biden's urging Congress to approve more aid to Ukraine as its military fights a Russian invasion. He signed a bill expediting more military aid.
I'm signing a bill that provides another important tool in our efforts to support the government of Ukraine and the Ukrainian people in their fight to defend their country and their democracy against Putin's brutal war.
Russian missiles hit a shopping mall and 2 hotels in Odessa, Ukraine. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. 6:31 is our time. We are expecting a warm day today. We're already up at 73 degrees here in Columbia. We're expecting a high today of around 93. Cloudy tonight with a low near 72 degrees. Good morning, and here are some of the stories we are working on for you in the 6 o'clock hour. Mizzou officials say 15 pin oak trees around the Francis Quadrangle will be replaced next week. University of Missouri Associate Vice Chancellor Michael Graves says the pin oak trees have stood guard for more than 70 years, providing a beautiful backdrop for the columns, but he says they are now a potential safety hazard to pedestrians in the buildings. Those trees will be replaced. While 95 Missouri veterans received a hero's welcome when we returned to Columbia last night from an honor flight to Washington. It was the first Central Missouri honor flight since 2019. Zimmer Radio's Trevor Morgan is reporting 5 of the 95 veterans were women, 3 Korean War veterans. That homecoming ceremony taking place at Columbia's Courtyard by Marriott. While details are still being worked on right now, PBS is reporting that President Biden is planning to move ahead on canceling some student loan debt. Looks like it'd be by executive order. Unclear how much, unclear when. East Central Missouri Republican Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer tells 93.9 The Eagle he has serious concerns about this.
I don't, want to keep our kids from being able to minimize their debt, but by the same token, there's got to be some responsibility for them getting into this debt. And those are taxpayer dollars that they signed on to be able to be paying back.
News is brought to you this morning by MidAmericaMortgage.us. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 6:33. In sports, the Cardinals were idle on Mondays. We had Ben Shapiro on the air last night. During the week, not often we see that, but that is because of the idle game yesterday, or idle day yesterday for the St. Louis Cardinals. They open up a 3-game home series against Baltimore at Busch Stadium coming up tonight. First pitch 6:45 on 93.9 The Eagles. Speaking of the Baltimore Orioles, they were in their home stadium there, Camden Yards, taking on the Royals Monday 6-1. Baltimore wins it. All 6 runs, by the way, in the 5th inning. Royals heading to Arlington. They'll open up a series against the Texas Rangers tonight at Globe Life Field. First pitch is at 7:05. In hockey, all eyes right now. This has been a really good series. Very physical. Good defense, good offense at times, too. The Blues facing Minnesota, Game 5 of their best-of-7 series tonight. Puck will drop at 8:30 in St. Paul. That's XL Energy Arena. Series tied at 2 apiece. Our sports brought to you this hour by Betts Jewelers. Gifts that last a lifetime. Visit Betts. They're in downtown Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:34.
93.9 Eagle Eye Traffic.
And our traffic check is presented by MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job or post your job opening today. Our roads right now are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you would like to report a traffic issue, you can give us a call or a text 573-874-9390. That was just an amazing scene to see 387 motorcyclists leading the honor flight from Kingdom City on I-70 right through Columbia into the Courtyard by Marriott. I mean, tons of traffic, as you can imagine. But that was how many were there. That does not include some of the motorcyclists, by the way, that were parked on the side of the road, pushing that number well above 400 last night. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
And all the Democrats are going to do is sit around and talk about veganism and pronouns. And to some extent, that is a justified opinion that they have.
James Carville recently on Democrats, one of the most well-known Democratic advisors, if you will, saying, listen, This isn't going to do. We've got real issues. Gas prices now officially nationwide record highs yesterday. Pronouns, veganism, things like that. As a matter of fact, last night, school board meeting, one of the things approved was they're doing one of these gender-affirming closets. So that's what's important to them. Gender-affirming, we have a closet. You can come. And I don't know if it's gender-affirming for everybody or just if you're gay or bi or pan or whatever. The bigger picture is those are the things they are focusing on. And I want to say something here. These, and I hate to do, well, it's MSNBC and CNN they're now even saying it, but we're almost to the point where we're doing almost a regular feature here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. And that's what Dems are saying about Dems, because it is so bad when you look at the leadership and it starts at the top. It starts with Joe Biden in the White House. And it's so bad that people like CNN and MSNBC, they just can't hide it anymore. They have to talk about the reality of what's happening. Another thing, progressives. By the way, I saw there is a local business owner who posted on his personal Facebook page yesterday. He posted a picture of a woman driving in yellow gloves and a face mask and everything, driving in traffic. And again, you want to do that, that's fine. But I think the news outlets, national news outlets, have scared the heck out of people to the point you have people driving around in gloves and driving in masks. What I did think was interesting about the picture, though, the car window was rolled down a little bit.
Well, and I cleaned out my garage this weekend, and I have like a box of gloves, a box of masks, like a bunch of Clorox wipes, like stuff I was hoarding really early on and then just never used. And I just thought, like, do I put this in my trunk and take it to Goodwill with everything else? Like, is there just going to now be like a COVID section of Goodwill? It's like all the leftover COVID supplies.
Or it'll be like when you go through pictures and you take out pictures. Oh, yeah, remember that? It'll be like next time clean. Oh, yeah, remember how freaked out we were about, look at all these masks and all these hand wipes and all these rolls of toilet paper that, by the way, still haven't used because I started hoarding it back in 2020. Man. But it has gotten so bad that even people like MSNBC, CNN, they're having to get honest. So one of the big things progressives are hanging their hat on for Joe Biden. Well, COVID. MSNBC, how's Joe Biden done on COVID?
Yeah, I think they've done very poorly. I think they've done more poorly than a lot of people had hoped for.
It's Dems on Dems, getting honest, for what it's worth. And I wonder, too, with with the leak, the SCOTUS leak, and what happened there. By the way, you look at Fox News poll, pretty much any poll for what polls are worth, the majority of Americans consistently in polling are okay to some extent regarding abortion. I understand Roe v. Wade in this potential decision. It's states' rights. It's given up for the states. But the majority of Americans are okay to some extent with some type of abortion. If there were something to completely do away with abortion, and you have the majority of Americans that are okay to some extent with it, what does that do in the midterms? Do you have people saying, well, if we're stereotyping and saying all Republicans completely against it, does that change how some of these midterms could come out? Because the majority of America, according to polls, Fox News, any poll you look at, the majority of Americans are okay with it. So if the majority of America, is that the big thing you vote on? Is that your one issue when it comes to voting for somebody? What's your stance on abortion? The majority of people, this doesn't affect anyway.
I think it's going to come down to like where you are. And so you think about like how many people are in California. Well, yeah, like California has abortion, and all those folks, I would think a lot of them are in support of abortion. I think, you come to some place like Missouri, and I think you run that poll, and not a majority of people are in support of abortion, which is why we have the laws that we have on the books, and we have the trigger law and everything else. So I really do think it's going to come down state by state. And, there are some states where it might be a closer call, but I don't think it's a close call in Missouri.
So not in Missouri. And it's something I wonder, because it's generally accepted that apparently, Republicans, big sweep coming in November, coming up in the midterms, 2022. We've got a couple of primaries happening today.
Yeah, there's one in West Virginia, and the other one I am going to forget, West Virginia and Nebraska. Sorry, okay, there's so many coming up.
I know, and it's okay. We've got until 9 o'clock.
So West Virginia, you've got two GOP incumbents that got drawn into the same district because of redistricting, so they lost one, and that's Alex Mooney and David McKinley. I think Trump is backing Mooney, I think. And then in Nebraska, you've got this gubernatorial race where Trump is backing this Charles Herbster, but you've also got Jim Pillen and Brett Lindstrom. There's also some other races that he's made endorsements in Nebraska. So
this morning, coming up 7:35, Congressman Billy Long is here. What is happening in D.C., fallout of that SCOTUS leak, other things that are happening. And, of course, he's running for Senate primary less than 3 months from now. Our U.S. Senate primary, less than 3 months from now. polling, for what it's worth, continue to show that it's Schmidt and Hartzler and Schmidt. Greitens will send me an email once in a while saying, "Hey, look, this poll shows that I'm winning." It's mostly Hartzler and Schmidt. The important Billy Long said something interesting. As a matter of fact, he said it here on Wake Up Columbia 93.9 The Eagle. He thought the key in that surprise victory for J.D. Vance in Ohio in that primary was the timing of the endorsement. In other words, it was last minute. Breitbart had an article, I think it was last week, talking about Trump is 55-0 in his endorsement races. And you can say that's true. But if you want to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised as one of the, outside of Mr. Trump and outside of Mr. Hannity, one of the biggest Trump fans there was, outside of those two. I've said this, I can pick the Kansas City Chiefs to win the AFC West every year. Guess what? I'm not really going out on a limb, am I? In recent years, I'm not going out on a limb. So to say, well, Trump is 55-0, or sure, but it's easy to pick winners when you know who's going to win. I wouldn't be surprised. What if at the last minute in that Georgia race, because right now his endorsement is for the guy who's trailing badly right now. I wonder if at the last minute Trump would change his endorsement to the guy that's going to win.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
One of the craziest things about Trump, I think, is like he's loyal and he values those who are loyal to him. And so you've seen him go scorched earth on anyone who he feels like he was loyal to and who crossed him. And, you know, I think he really, when looking at an endorsement field, I think that's one of the things he looks at, which is why the endorsement in Ohio was so surprising, because everyone was like, hey, look, J.D. Vance said bad stuff about you. Like, you should, you know, this is your thing. Like, you are a loyalist. Like, he wasn't always with you. And that was pretty surprising for him. So I wouldn't suspect that he would switch toward the end, because that's one of his, like, I think that's his core value.
We will see. So a couple of primaries going on tonight, and then the importance here in the U.S. Senate race. Big night last night here in Columbia. As a matter of fact, coming up next month, we are doing our annual Central Missouri Honor Flight Radiothon. And last night, if you ever get a chance to go to one of these, my goodness, this is so cool. The homecoming for folks that went on a Central Missouri Honor Flight because of what you have done in past years in supporting our honor flight. What a great event this was.
It really was. Trevor Morgan covered that for us. I was actually here at the station. I had to come in for a few minutes last night, get a few things ready, and got to see some of it and hear some of it. And there were a ton of bikers, by the way, in our lot as well, because there was just so many people. I mean, hundreds and hundreds. 387 is just how that were in the procession. Bagpipes. You had firefighters. You had the Red Cross out there. It was big. It was as big as anything I've ever seen, and people were very excited about it. But the first one since 2019, and the 387 motorcyclists escorted them from Kingdom City. Took a while to get here, and man, oh man, the biker guys really, and women too, they really enjoyed it. But a big event, really nice.
And beautiful night. For it.
It was a little warm, but yeah, it was great.
And there's probably not a dry eye in the place. I have been there. I watched my dad come off the honor flight, and to hear their names called, and the cheering, and the flags, and the signs, and the photos, and the hugs. I'm getting emotional just talking about it, but it is a wonderful experience.
And I want to nominate Katie Bernicke. She's a 16-year-old from Fulton. She's been raising money for the Central Missouri Honor Flight for a long time. We need to get her hooked up with our radiothon coming up next month here on 93.9 The Eagle. KOMU Channel 8 talked to her about her fundraising efforts.
Veterans mean so much to us, to this country, and we're showing them that we truly do care about them. My goal is to send an entire flight by myself. Seeing what it does for these veterans, what this flight has actually done to them, it helps them so much.
She nailed it. What this does from it's not a field trip to Washington D.C. Oh, we took pictures of the monuments and this. It's this almost this metamorphosis for a lot of these folks. That's why it's so important. Our Honor Flight Radiothon coming up next month here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Gas prices record highs Good news is, I guess, kind of, in Missouri, one of the lowest average prices nationwide. More, I hate to say bad news, I don't want to bum you out, but in Columbia, in Boone County, the highest in Missouri, one of the highest.
It's bad. My husband told me last night, he's like, I started filling up the car and I didn't look at the price. And then I looked over and it had gotten to 60 and I jumped out. I was like, oh no, and was like trying to turn it off. Like, I'm going to wait a week and hope these things come back down.
So from time to time, we like to do what people will check in on Facebook or on our YouTube video channel where you can watch the show. Who's listening or watching the furthest away? I think we have a
I am sick of hearing.
Hear about it.
Critical race theory.
Talk about it.
A bunch of idiots out there.
93.9 The Eagle.
Every industry in America deals with hitches, hiccups, and crunch time complications. Hi, this is the Gray Kitty with Hodges Roofing and Siding, and we know not every job can go smoothly. That's why we've put plans in place to make sure you're happy with our work. Introducing Panther Perfect. It's our way of checking every aspect of every job to ensure you're happy with our handiwork.
And this is Greg A. Hodges, a.k.a. the Gray Panther. Let us show you what a Panther Perfect project looks like. Call 573 Roofing or send us a signal at hodgesmo.com.
In mid-Missouri, when you think of breaking news and weather information, you think of Brian Hauswirth. And now you can find Brian on 93.9 The Eagle every weekday and anytime during breaking news and weather events. News Director Brian Hauswirth has dedicated his career to keeping Missouri informed and up to date. And we're happy to welcome him to the new leader of news analysis and opinion for mid-Missouri, News Director Brian Hauswirth and 93.9 The Eagle. Together, like it should be.
Of the top 100 air conditioner experts, what are the most common reasons air conditioners break down during hot and humid conditions? Kim?
Clogged coils?
Russ?
Peanut butter.
Uncomfortable. At AirServe, we believe the air in which you live and breathe should be comfortable and clean. Right now, for a limited time, we're offering a $20 discount on our air conditioner tune-ups, so you can relax and be comfortable all summer long. Go to airserve.com and schedule your appointment today.
Put you in your comfort zone.
The way we watch TV has evolved. More people are watching what they want when they want with streaming services or connected TV platforms. It's estimated 60% of us will use connected TV by next year. For businesses, this means more opportunities to advertise in a highly targeted and cost-effective way. Choose the age, location, and interest of the target audience and only show ads to them when they watch TV. Our team of digital experts can help craft a connected TV campaign to reach your target audience in an engaging and memorable way. Contact us at ZimmerCommunications.com.
The time is now. Not just a job, a career at Inland Truck Parts and Service.
The culture is what differentiates us from everywhere else.
Inland Truck Parts is employee-owned with excellent benefits.
I think the true reason to start your career with Inland is because the people that are in this company. We really love to see people grow within our company.
InlandTruck.com. Now hiring diesel technicians and more.
This place is an awesome place to work.
Apply in person, 3609 Paris Road in Columbia.
Gratitude, relief, and joy are feelings I never expected to experience again. Before starting outpatient treatment for my depression and anxiety, I was struggling to get out of bed, let alone interact with my loved ones. Today, thanks to the therapists and doctors at Centerpoint, I am a thriving member of my family, doing better than ever at work, and most importantly, able to manage my mental health with anything life throws at me. Centerpoint Hospital of Columbia can help you too.
CenterPointHospitalColumbia.com. Hope for a bright future.
Hear about it.
Great topic. So positive.
Talk about it.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I like this topic, too. Brings back a lot of memories.
93.9 The Eagle. Let's go. Wake up Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle.
It just makes my heart swell, actually. When people donate money like that, the only thing we won't do is we won't take donations from the veterans that have been on the flight because they've already paid when they served. They're finally getting the recognition they deserve.
That's a friend of Wake Up Columbia, Reed Hickam, talking to KOMU yesterday. Another honor flight coming home, first one. And it's been almost 3 years since we've done an honor flight. That is crazy. But I love what he says there. It fills your heart. And I think that's one of the things that you would find if you've never donated during our Central Missouri Honor Flight Radiothon coming up next month. And you see, and you've been there.
Yeah.
It's great. It's, man, the bikers and the fire department and the police department and veterans that show up and pack that place. That's cool. But it's...
Yeah, all of their families are there. They've had just a wonderful day visiting D.C. They get off of the bus. They announce them one by one. They have an escort. Usually, I think a lot of them are like highway patrolmen. So they have an escort that walks them in. They greet their family. There's cheering, lots of American flags, just a love for country and a love for, and an appreciation of service. And I'm not even looking forward to the Honor Flight Radiothon because I am not a crier, and I bawled through I cried all my makeup off during last year's Radiothon. But and so during the Radiothon, we have folks who are their ambassadors who've been on the trip. So not only can they talk about their own experiences, but the experiences of their friends. It's amazing. It was an amazing day. One of my favorite days on the radio since I started. It's going to be really fun.
It's coming up next month. We'll have information coming up on our website, 939theeagle.com. By the way, just like the legislative session is getting ready to end, time running out for you to vote for Best of Columbia Inside Columbia Magazine's Best of Columbia 2022. You can go and you can vote every day, and it's kind of cool. So when I voted a couple of weeks ago, and you can vote every day. But I don't like to do ballot stuffing because we complain when we do polls on 93.9 The Eagle, and we can tell when people are stuffing, and that's fine. We get it for what polls are worth. So I've been on there and voted once, but here's the thing that struck me: the types of things you can vote on, like your favorite place to hang out, favorite people, and I think 93.9 The Eagle, we are nominated.
Yeah, so the Eagle is nominated for Best Local Radio Station. And then Wake Up Columbia is up for Best Radio Show.
And I think that's a no-brainer, and I'm a little, I have confirmation bias here. Not necessarily on the morning show. You vote on whatever morning show you like the best, but for Best Local Radio Station. Best Local Radio Station. Local. When you talk about a radio station that covers, like the school board meeting, what happened there last night, they're changing the restraint policy. By the way, not because in my mind they wanted to. Number one, they're facing a lawsuit because of potential whistleblower concerns from a former teacher who exposed what was happening in the Columbia Public School District, and because by law they had to. But we cover stuff like that. Weather, local politics, local social stuff. Best local radio station. I really, honestly, don't see how anybody could vote for any other radio station other than 93.9 The Eagle. And Hannah, I'm a little biased because,
but you're proud of what we do here on The Eagle, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Favorite morning show, you vote for whoever you want. But radio station, remember, the wording is Best Local Radio Station. I hope you share it with your friends. And we're worldwide, too. You can watch The Eagle. Go to our YouTube channel, 93.9 The Eagle. People are putting it up on their smart TV. They watch at home so everybody in the house can see what's going on. Check this out. We've got a text this morning. Occasionally we do this over the years. Where are you listening from this morning? We get people from Montana, Nebraska, and all over. This morning, interesting text from Justin.
Justin says, I'm watching from Brisbane, Australia tonight. Morning in Como, but it's bedtime down under. Been out of pocket for a week or so, but good to see the Wake Up Columbia team on the Facebook feed and catch up on some home news.
How cool is that? They have internet in Australia. That's amazing.
That's the takeaway.
How cool is that? And that they're letting folks back in. They've been one of the strictest countries, so...
Man.
Let us know how you're doing out there, Justin, and how Australia is.
And thanks for watching, man. We appreciate that. No matter where you are, and if you are far away, always feel free to text us. We just like to know where you are this morning, because we're like the government. We want to know where you are. Coming up 7:10, some things we have done to change our travel habits during high gas prices. Good morning, I'm Branden Rathert, pro pumping and hydrogen. I went home yesterday. My yard is still squishy, like a Democrat on some issues. Squishy, because of all that rain we've had. And that reminds me, this can cause issues with septic tanks and lagoons. And I hope you haven't had any issues. But do want to let you know if you have had some issues, or if you have issues here in the future, because guess what? It's spring in Missouri. It'll probably get chilly again, and we'll probably get more rain, and it's going to cause issues. I want you to know about pro pumping and hydrojetting. Pro pumping and hydrojetting. They service septic tanks, and the cool thing about that is you call pro pumping and hydrojetting. They'll put you like on a program where like every few months they come out and they monitor it, make sure everything's running properly. Usually that will protect you from big, nasty, expensive emergencies. But think about this, with all the rain that we've had, that can cause some big problems. Pro pumping and hydrojetting, see what they can do for you.
Reflection should be a tool for growth, not a hammer. But a violent event at home or work can be so tragic, reflection may be unbearable. The possibility of losing loved ones, employees, or our business to violence is a reality. Debunk the myths and develop the knowledge and skills needed to protect what's most important. Through workforce training, an executive retreat, or personal coaching, you can develop the knowledge and needed skills to survive. Don't let reflection be a hammer. Find out more at joegilbert.us. That's joegilbert.us.
Every legendary business starts small. A few determined, talented people turns an idea into a staple of life. Imagine being a part of that. Now, be a part of it. As a sales executive with Zimmer Communications, your job is to help businesses grow to their maximum potential. This exciting opportunity also offers base pay with a bonus pool, commission, and potential for a signing bonus. Grow your career this year with Zimmer Communications. Just email your resume to sales@zrgmail.com or apply online at zimmercommunications.com.
News, analysis, opinion. We're 93.9 The Eagle, KSSC, Fayette, Columbia, a free service of Zimmer Communications.
He wants to help us pay less. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
My top priority is fighting inflation and lowering prices for families and things they need.
So today, President Biden will unveil a new plan that will include stepping up enforcement of price fixing, capping prescription drug costs, and more affordable housing.
The president's also calling on Congress to work on lowering the cost of child care. But Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell's been saying the president and Democrats are the reason behind inflation now due to dumping a $2 trillion COVID package into the U.S. economy last year.
Fox's Jill Nato. The price of gas at a new record high this morning, $4.37 a gallon for regular on average nationwide. AAA has diesel also at an all-time high at $5.55. Those are protesters outside the House of Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, who wrote the leaked draft opinion showing conservative justices ready to overturn the ruling that legalized abortion.
The Senate taking action yesterday, approving a bill that ramps up personal security and other protections for the Supreme Court justices and their families.
As Fox's Brooks Singman, that vote was a rare unanimous one. The House considers it next. The search is over for a murder suspect who escaped from an Alabama jail with the help of a corrections officer. They were found in Evansville, Indiana.
They then led police on a high-speed chase that ended a few minutes later when the fugitives wrecked their vehicle. Casey White gave himself up, but police say Vicky White died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
Fox's Trace Gallagher. More Ukrainians found dead in Russia's invasion. 44 civilian bodies discovered in a building destroyed weeks ago in a northeast city. And
the southern port city of Odessa was hit with a series of Russian missiles Sunday night. One person reported dead. It comes the same day Putin called Ukrainians Nazis and urged Russians to remain loyal and fight for the motherland.
Fox's Matt Finn in Lviv, Ukraine. Congress considering another $40 billion in military and humanitarian aid. America's listening to Fox News.
Economists are warning that sanctions against Russia could cause unintended damage in America, triggering devastating inflation. As gas prices skyrocket, prices for everything could surge even higher, making the current 40-year record inflation look mild. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to take immediate action to protect your savings by opening a physical gold IRA with my friends at Birch Gold. I'm a Birch Gold customer myself, and they have my highest recommendation. Just text the word PROTECT to 989898, and they'll send you a free info kit on how to get started. In my opinion, gold IRAs are one of the best ways to protect your savings no matter what happens in America or around the world. And the best company to work with is Birch Gold. So text the word PROTECT to 989898 to get everything you need to know about protecting your savings with gold.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. We're expecting a hot one here in mid-Missouri. We continue to warm up. Our high today will be around 93 degrees. Our low tonight, 72 degrees. Good morning, everyone, and here's some of the stories that we are working on for you in the 7 o'clock hour. A Missouri congressman who is the House Subcommittee on Consumer Protection's top Republican says part of growing up and becoming a responsible citizen is understanding that debt has to be repaid. St. Elizabeth Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer watching closely to see if President Biden proceeds on canceling some or all student debt.
The schools need to be doing a better job of advising these kids whenever they take out this debt, what kind of problem they're getting into, and their parents and all the high schools as well to help to explain to them the different career choices they're making.
And while details are still being finalized, PBS reporting President Biden is planning to move ahead on student debt through executive action. Supporters say relief from the student debt would help the young people buy homes and grow the economy. Congressman Luetkemeyer sees it differently. He asked about those who have repaid their student loans. He wants to know how that is fair. And again, he represents part of mid-Missouri in the Congress could get part of Columbia and Boone County as well under proposal that is being discussed in Jefferson City. More on that in just a moment. Friday's end of session deadline looming large as Missouri lawmakers try to approve a new congressional redistricting map. It is a map that splits Columbia and Boone County into two districts. It's been approved by the Missouri House. The vote on that was 101 to 47. Reporter Emily Manley, who covered the House debate, reports the boundary is in downtown Columbia. It is along Broadway. Representative David Tyson Smith of Columbia tells our news partner ABC 17 that essentially Boone Hospital Center and Stevens College both would be in two separate congressional districts. ARPA money is heading to the state of Missouri if the governor signs the ARPA bill. More than $3 billion, billion with a B, in ARPA funding. Some of that money will be used for health care improvements in the state, others for IT improvements.
These are our FQHCs, CCBHOs, and those types of facilities, hospitals, different types of providers that we are helping them with their capital improvements projects with their respective facilities in order to serve people better.
It's been a bipartisan issue. That's the House Budget Committee Chairman Cody Smith. He is from Carthage. Again, that bill, the ARPA money on the governor's desk. Hundreds of motorcyclists from across mid-Missouri escorting 95 Honor Flight veterans from Kingdom City to Columbia last night as they returned to a hero's welcome. Zimmer Radio Group's Trevor Morgan was at Courtyard by Marriott here in Columbia for the homecoming. He reports 387 motorcyclists were involved. Each veteran's name was read out loud. Boone County Fire also on hand. Bagpipes were played. Honor Flight 62, first one done since 2019 due to the COVID pandemic. A parolee who is charged with a weekend Columbia murder remains on the run as we speak.
Columbia police say a warrant has been issued for 35-year-old Isaac Bryant for second-degree murder and armed criminal action for the shooting death of Demetrius Ware. The 37-year-old Ware was shot to death Saturday morning in the 800 block of Grand Avenue. Bryant is on parole for robbery. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
Our news is brought to you in the 7 o'clock hour, thank you, Don, by the Candy Factory. The Candy Factory is in downtown Columbia, and any time of the year is a good time for tasty treats from the Candy Factory in downtown Columbia. Anniversary, birthday, any day. You can find them online, thecandyfactoryonline.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:06. In sports, the Cardinals were idle Monday, so no game recap this morning. They're going to be opening a 3-game home series against Baltimore at Busch Stadium coming up tonight. First pitch 6:45 right here on 93.9 The Eagle. The Orioles beat the Royals on Monday 6-1. They scored all 6 runs in the 5th inning. Royals starting a series against the Texas Rangers on the road tonight at Globe Life Field. That is in Arlington. First pitch there is at 7:05. Hockey. A lot of eyes right now on this series. It's been a great series. Hockey, a lot of defense, pretty physical as well. Great goaltending at times. The Blues facing Minnesota tonight. Game 5, best-of-7 series. 8:30 the start in St. Paul. The series tied at 2 games apiece. That will be on television on both Bally Sports Midwest. It will also be on television this evening on ESPN nationwide. Our sports is brought to you this hour by Club Car Wash. Visit clubcarwash.com to find a location near you. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:08.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track meteorologist John Ross. It was record-breaking heat on Monday, and we've got another good chance at record-breaking heat here on Tuesday. With abundant sunshine, it's going to be another hot one out there, another hot and humid day, and that could be said also for Wednesday and Thursday, both days, seeing highs in the low 90s. Expect chances for storms on Friday to lower highs into the 80s. I'm meteorologist John Ross, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on 93.9 The Eagle.
John, thank you. And our weather is brought to you again this hour by Club Car Wash. Visit clubcarwash.com to find a location near you. Partly sunny, 73.
93.9 Eagle Eye Traffic.
It is 7:08. Traffic check is with MidmoHires.com. Our local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. Our roads have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri this morning. If you'd like to report a traffic issue or a wreck, something we need to know about, you can give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. The traffic may seem a little bit heavier this morning. Yesterday was an official state holiday for President Harry Truman's birthday, so it impacted a lot of the state employees, particularly in Jefferson City, more than any other community. We'll have another update for you coming up at the bottom of the hour. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle.
What is happening?
Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Radio Group World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, News Director Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you. Get ready, pal.
And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
Divides Boone County down Broadway. So if you're on one side of Broadway, you're in one congressional district. If you walk across the street, you're in another congressional district. It divides Stevens College, divides Boone Hospital.
Local Rep David Tyson Smith talking to Hannah Falcon, ABC 17 yesterday regarding redistricting. Another map moving forward goes to the Senate now. By the way, we only have days left in the legislation. After that, I guess it could potentially be up to the courts to decide. And I get it. Listen, you're not going to make everybody happy, you know. And I get that, and I know what we want. We want a 12-0 map. That's what we want, realistically. A 6-2, but where? And look at. And I think some of it. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you love doing it, and I do appreciate it. Some of the most vocal opponents of any current 6-2 maps, aren't they mostly outside of the St. Louis, St. Charles area where they are going to be directly affected or potentially helped by a 7-1?
Well, you're talking about people that would want 7-1.
Yeah.
That would primarily be, there are others, but primarily it is going to be your conservative caucus members. Mm-hmm. There's really 3, 2 from that area, and 1, there's another one too, but it's Bill Eigel from Weldon Spring, it's Bob Onder, Dr. Bob Onder from Lake St. Louis. They are the 2 primary ones, but it's also Denny Hoskins from Warrensburg, and it's also Mike Moon from Ash Grove. I mean, essentially what Onder and Eigel want, and people have argued this for years, they believe St. Charles County county should get its own congressional district. They don't want to be linked in. They certainly have said they don't want to be in the 1st district with Cori Bush, but they also really don't want to be part of the 2nd either. And now that's been split up again, so that is really what they want, their own district.
And so here's how it could affect us. Number one, we'd have 2 potential reps in the United States Congress, 3rd and 4th district. One seat currently held by Blaine Lukemeyer, the other currently held by Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler, who is running for Senate. And the way, as you heard David Tyson Smith describing that, there is, and you have to draw the line somewhere. You do. And we just happen to be in the midst of this firestorm that is redistricting. And I appreciate what State Senate Majority Leader Caleb Branden said yesterday. Not just what he said, but the way he said it. This is regarding this latest proposal of a map.
Having 2 Congress people, one of which is, Congressman Lukemeyer has been there for a decade and is, presumably is going to be the chair of financial services. If we take a majority, having a guy like that on your team and batting for your home county is something I'm absolutely fine with.
So, and I'm fine with it. So it's not just that he said it, but it's kind of like, yeah, I'm absolutely fine with this.
There is some and he is correct. Blaine Lukemeyer would be in line to be chairman of financial services, and that does he's in a good position to do that. The criticism I've heard, there's been some Democratic criticism as well, that they didn't like the city of Columbia being split. Some Republicans, Branden and Stephanie, have made it very clear they don't like the idea of Sarah Walsh's district being essentially drawn out of her own district. Maybe the biggest winner in this, in terms of politically, is Senator Rick Branden. I mean, if you look at that new map that is out there right now, it basically has his entire senatorial district. It's going to be tough for him to get beat in a primary like that, especially if those folks go out and vote. It shifts to a much more rural district than what it has been right now.
Rick Branden is a good dude, by the way. He recently gave a presentation, about a month ago, the Columbia Pachyderm Club. Of course, he was at the Boone County Lincoln Days. By the way, before I move forward, because there are some important things that went down at the Columbia Public School Board, and there's a great article in Inside Columbia magazine written by Fred Perry that has to do with the Columbia Public School District. But this past Friday, the executive producer of the Missouri Pork Producers Association gave a presentation to the Columbia Pachyderm Club. By the way, I was like the 4th. There were 3 people there younger than myself.
Whoa.
Yeah. One of them was 28 years old, and he was brought by a guy who's younger than me or younger than myself, whatever the proper English is there.
Do you get a little threatened when there's people there that are younger than you? Like that's supposed to be your title?
No, I rejoice, actually. But you know what I find myself doing, Hannah? I'm like, let's see, they're probably about 35, they're about 45. But I spend a ridiculous amount of time trying to age everybody at these Columbia Pachyderm meetings. They meet every Friday. But this kid is 28 years old. He was brought by somebody even younger than myself. First time he'd ever been to one of these. And forgive me, but he is he's an immigrant from, and I can't remember, some South American country. This kid was going to a Columbia Pachyderm meeting because he wanted to find out more. And I think that is incredible. But Don Nicodem, executive producer, Missouri Pork Association, gave a really interesting presentation on a whole bunch of things. If you ever get a chance, check those out.
Did he talk about the price of bacon?
We did. We talked about bacon. And it was, because I'll be honest, I'm like, okay, I don't want to go and sit and listen to somebody talk about pork. I stayed the entire time, and I don't always do that because I have other responsibilities. Plus, he happens to be kind of a personal friend of Brian Hauswirth, and it turns out he listens to the show.
Yeah, he does. And you know what's amazing about Don, and I've known Don for, I've been covering agricultural issues for close to 30 years. And Don is a great interview, and I've had to ask him some tough questions over the years about, there was a time in 1993 and 94, 95 where there was a really kind of a controversial thing at that time. Premium Standard Farms came in. He always did my interviews with me and always was gracious, still there. That's not nearly the issue. It was, although there's still some issues there. But the biggest thing that he's talking about the prices, but also they're very concerned about this transmission line that's being proposed to go right just north of us in Randolph County grain belt. But I'm glad you got to see him.
Well, I know my dairy farmer friends were rejoicing. Did you see Elon's tweet yesterday? He said chocolate milk is insanely good. Just had some. And I thought, he's not wrong, right? Like that chocolate milk you get, like the single chocolate milk from like the gas station. So good.
Man, anybody in the agriculture industry around here, kudos on you, especially right now. Record high gas prices throughout the country. Another record high. Missouri, this is kind of weird because Missouri, according to AAA Missouri has, on average, one of the lowest gas prices on average in America. In Missouri, by county, guess who has some of the highest gas prices in the state of Missouri?
Boone County.
Us right here. And because always a good point, what are you going to do? Quit taking part in life?
Ride your bike, Branden.
Would like to do that.
I got a 45-minute commute by car. I'm not sure I can pedal that far.
Kurt, I have done one thing, because usually I'll complain about it, but I don't do anything different. I have adjusted my schedule a little bit. It used to be, when I'm done playing around here in the sandbox that is Wake Up Columbia, I would go and attend to matters, and then I have this thing that I do at noon every day, and then go home, eat, change, and then go to the gym. But I don't do that anymore. I quit coming home. I'm going straight from one place to another. Probably not saving much, but every little bit really helps, man. I hope you're doing okay with these record high gas prices. Coming up at 8:35, I got into this is almost embarrassing to say.
Oh, boy.
Got into a little social media throwdown on Facebook, though. Which seems, when you compare it to what happens on Twitter anymore, it's almost silly. But ABC 17 posted a story about record high gas prices. And gas prices, incidentally, had been going up since, this is a fact, look it up, January 20th, 2021. But they're talking about the record high gas prices. And somebody said, well, it's not Joe Biden's fault. And I said, if you would like, tune in to Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle Tuesday morning.
You brought us into it?
I did.
Into your little squabble?
Well, I thought it was very polite. I said, and we'll prove to you how this is directly related to Biden. And then they said, well, just the opinion of one radio guy in Columbia doesn't matter. And I said, it's not my opinion. I'll point to facts from people from NATO, like a general by the name of Todd Walters. And if you want to post maps and graphs, we'll look at gas prices since January 20th, 2021. What happened on January 20th? 2021.
We got Biden.
Yeah. Those are, they're just facts. So we'll do that 8:35 this morning. Fred Perry writes for Inside Columbia Magazine. By the way, you still have time to vote. Are we wrapping this up Friday? The Inside Columbia Magazine Best of Columbia 2022 on our website.
So Thursday is the last day to vote. So you can vote today, Wednesday, and Thursday. So that's 3 more times you can vote for us.
So, and we are with the radio station. 93.9 The Eagle is one of the nominees for Best Local Radio Station. And if we don't win, I think we're also nominated for Best Morning Show.
Yes.
And there's other great things you can vote on, restaurants, people, what have you. If we do not win for Best Local Radio Station, there's a problem, because when we talk local stuff, it's really and I'm talking about Randy Tobler doing the Randy Tobler Show. I mean, the local things that we do here on this show. I'll be shocked if we don't win.
Have you been voting for us?
I did. I voted once.
Just once?
Yeah, I don't like stuffing ballot boxes.
Come on, man. But it's not stuffing the ballot box if they let you vote once a day.
Yeah, but I complain, like, if we do a poll somewhere and people are obviously stuffing the ballot box, I'm like, okay, come on, man. So I did. I voted once, but you can vote as often as you want.
I've been voting for us every day. No shame.
Fred Perry, Columbia Public School Board met last night, and I apologize. I do want to get to this article from Fred Perry that happens to be in Inside Columbia magazine, and it has to do with the Columbia Public School District. Laura Wakefield is a parent. She went to last night's school board meeting. This has to do with the restraint policy, the latest on that. And while this person who I'm chatting with on Facebook regarding gas prices and how it is directly Joe Biden's fault, while I have your attention, I want to say something else. When we talk about things, for example, the Columbia Public School District, by the way, some incredible caring teachers and personnel and staff all around, really. But we can also talk about facts. So it's not complaining. It's not not just one radio guy's opinion. These are facts. It's test scores. If you get a chance, check out the latest issue of Inside Columbia magazine. Fred Perry has a great article in that. Do you want to cover that a little bit? Coming up 8:10 this morning. Meanwhile, we're going to shift gears a little bit and do What's Hot with Hannah today. What's smoking today, Hannah?
Well, Taco Bell is dipping their toe into the musical business.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
This constant, it weighs with you, man. It just does not go away. That's why I want to tell you about QC Kinetics. So what is QC Kinetics? How is this different than anything else that you may have researched? Well, it's an exciting non-surgical approach. Here's also where it differs. It can restore, it can repair damaged tissue in your joint. So it's not masking pain. It's not being surgically fixed. It's something that helps it restore and repair. They've got over 100 clinics nationwide. And if you're cruising towards St. Louis, I-70 eastbound, just past the 63 interchange, you look to your right and go, oh, look, there's QC Kinetics. You'll see them. You can call now to schedule your free consultation with the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 573-545-5588. 573-545-5588. Call now. Free consultation. Local medical professionals. Call them now. QC Kinetics. 573-545-5588.
Hear about it.
The Democrat Party is going to have to go back toward the center.
Talk about it.
I've never called a talk show before, but this just irked me.
93.9 The Eagle.
Calling all superstar technicians. Custom Complete Automotive is looking for you to join their family. Must be a self-starter with your own tools and box and have strong diagnostic and drivability skills. Custom Complete Automotive has great compensation, and you'll never run out of work in this fast-paced environment. Stop by Custom Complete Automotive across from McDonald's off Stadium in Worley, or call Corey at 445-9000.
Custom Complete Automotive. Unbeatable.
Behind on rent or mortgage? Missouri Safer can help. Missouri Safer for Renters provides payments directly to your landlord and utility providers, while Missouri Safer for Homeowners can help you get caught up on mortgage payments. Learn more about these federally funded programs at mohousingresources.com or call 833-541-1599. Apply today and stay safe in your home with Missouri Safer. Brought to you by the Missouri Housing Development Commission.
For over 35 years, Huber & Associates has been helping companies solve their business problems using technology. We offer smarter IT solutions developed from our dedication to excellence, service, integrity, teamwork, and having fun. And we're growing. Do you get excited about helping clients reach their fullest potential utilizing innovative technology strategies? Are you ready to join a team that treats you like family? Come join Team Huber. Check out career opportunities online at teamhuber.com.
Zimmer Radio and Marketing Group is an equal opportunity employer. If you're hardworking, driven to succeed, and would like to be a part of the Zimmer team, please visit ZimmerCommunications.com to apply and see all of our current openings. Candidates should have a proven track record of success and creative problem-solving abilities. You can also apply in person at either of our locations at 3109 South 10 Mile Drive in Jefferson City or at 3215 Lamone Industrial Drive in Columbia.
Make it a summer to remember and dive into some fun at the MAC. Cannonball! Join the MAC Summer Club and enjoy your summer poolside all summer long. Explore the swim team, take swim lessons, have your kid's birthday party there, play sand volleyball and more. Have your kids stay active all summer long with the MAC Fun Fitness Summer Camp. Every day is different with acts, games, and crafts, swimming, and much more. Reserve your child's spot today. Now's the time to save on the fun at Wilson's MAC Summer Club. Go to wilsonsfitness.com for more.
Don't miss your opportunity to own a piece of American history with the American Silver Eagle coin. Call Bullion Shark at 1-888-355-1587. The American Silver Eagle has become the most popular coin series in the world, with tens of millions sold each year. Act fast, and you'll receive a free U.S. coin collector's bonus package. Call Bullion Shark at 888-355-1587 or go to bullionsharks.com. Once again, that's 1-888-355-1587 or bullionsharks.com.
The Randy Tobler Show.
So what's wrong with this picture? The left says that democracy is being overturned if Roe versus Wade is reversed, as the draft would predict. But isn't the laboratory of democracy in the 50 states per the constitutional republic? What are they talking about? We don't live in a majority plus one democracy. They need a one-way ticket to high school civics class.
The Randy Tobler Show. Weekdays 4 to 6 on 93.9 The Eagle. Wake Up Columbia. News, analysis, opinion, and Hannah the producer. 93.9 The Eagle.
I think he felt like he had popular support of the citizens of Russia. I also felt like he was attempting to take advantage of fissures that could have appeared in NATO as a result of the post-Afghanistan environment.
General Todd Wolters, NATO's Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, for our new friend who I assume is listening this morning, who on Facebook says gas prices aren't Joe Biden's fault. Yeah, it is. Gas prices have been going up since January 20th, 2021. People say, well, it's because Russia invaded Ukraine. That's why gas prices are so high. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're correct. Why did Russia invade Ukraine? NATO saying because of the way Biden handled the withdrawal from Afghanistan. Thank you, and I appreciate you checking out the show and at least being open-minded to hear something different. Right now, 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:28.
Time for What's Hot with Hannah.
I teased earlier that Taco Bell was dipping their toe into the musical industry.
Was I the only one whose head right away went for the...
What, the song about beans?
That, yes, thank you. That's a very polite way of putting it. Was I the only one? Anyone else in their car right now? Was I the only one?
I mean, for once, my brain was not there for once, but I do see how that could, I see where the connection was made. But Taco Bell is celebrating the return of their Mexican pizza, which is one of the items that they took off the menu last year, and it caused great uproar. They're celebrating the return with a musical event, and one of the people in the TikTok musical is going to be Dolly Parton.
Yes.
Who, by the way,
Dolly Parton.
Didn't she recently, I think, accepted her nomination into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? She said she wasn't going to take it because she's not a rock and roll artist, and I agree with her on that. I wish they would change the name of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because when you let in people like Hall & Oates, you completely destroy your credibility. Coming up, what is happening in Washington, D.C. this morning? The latest on that leak, that SCOTUS leak. Congressman Billy Long is here at 7:35.
I'm ABC 17 storm track meteorologist John Ross. It was record-breaking heat on Monday, and we've got another good chance at record-breaking heat here on Tuesday with abundant sunshine. It's going to be another hot one out there, another hot and humid day, and that could be said also for Wednesday and Thursday, both days, seeing highs in the low 90s. Expect chances for storms on Friday to lower highs into the 80s. I'm meteorologist John Ross, and that's your ABC 17 storm track forecast on 93.9 The Eagle.
Stop by Club Car Wash to get an unlimited membership for just $20 a month. See more details at clubcarwash.com.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. President Biden this morning announces plans to fight inflation.
He wants to lower energy costs using clean energy credits. He's calling on Congress to cut drug costs. He wants to help American farmers grow more so food prices can be reduced. But Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell's been saying the president and Democrats are the reason behind inflation now due to dumping a $2 trillion COVID package into the U.S. economy last year.
Fox's Jill Nato. The search for an Alabama corrections officer and an escaped inmate ends with a car crash during a police chase in Indiana.
That inmate, Casey White, gave himself up, but police say Vicky White shot herself, dying in a hospital a short time later. Vicky White allegedly helped the convict escape after reportedly engaging in a romantic relationship with him that lasted years.
Fox's Todd Pyro. Those two had been on the run for 11 days. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 7:31. Right now we do have mostly sunny skies. It is 74 degrees. Good morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you in this 7 o'clock hour. Mizzou officials say 15 pin oak trees around the Francis Quadrangle will be replaced next week. University of Missouri Associate Vice Chancellor Michael Graves says the pin oak trees have stood guard for more than 70 years, providing a beautiful backdrop for the columns as well as historic buildings. He says they're now a potential safety hazard to pedestrians and buildings. Trees will be replaced. In Jefferson City, campaigns to legalize recreational marijuana use and allow ranked choice voting in Missouri, both submitting signatures ahead of the deadline Sunday to get the measures on the ballot. One proposed amendment would allow adults ages 21 and older to buy and grow marijuana for personal use. Missouri lawmakers in both parties say American Rescue Plan Act money, ARPA, will bring the state into the 21st century in IT. Lawmakers have held a number of hearings on the state's outdated computer systems. They learned some departments have still been working with COBOL. That's a 60-year-old program. Other departments still have been using fax machines at times. House Budget Committee Chair Cody Smith says federal money will help.
And that conversation we had recently, moments ago, about the Department of Revenue and their inability to project to us exactly how that tax cut might work for respective taxpayers, I think is a good indication that we are not as technologically capable as we would like to think we are.
That funding is now on the governor's desk, and the search continues for a parolee charged with a Columbia murder. News brought to you by WillettDentalAssociates.com. It's 7:33. In sports, the Cardinals, who were idle Monday, they open up a 3-game home series against Baltimore at Busch Stadium coming up tonight. First pitch, 6:45 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Baltimore beat the Royals on Monday 6-1. They scored all 6 runs in that 5th inning. The Royals taking on the Texas Rangers tonight in Arlington, Globe Life Field. First pitch will be at 7:05. And in hockey, a lot of talk. I was in St. Louis this weekend. A lot of talk on some of the sports stations about these 8:30 starts. Some people don't want, many people seemingly don't like it, others do, but it's going to be another 8:30 start tonight, our time. This game will be in St. Paul, the Blues facing Minnesota in Game 5 of their best-of-7 series. Puck will drop tonight at XL Energy Arena in St. Paul, 8:30 tonight. Series tied at 2, the Blues winning Sunday's game at home 5-2. Jordan Binnington, 28 saves, his 17th career postseason win. He joins Mike Liut and Greg Millen for the most in franchise history. And Liut and Millen ended up being traded for each other back in the 1980s. Our sports is brought to you this hour by Lacrosse Lumber. They are looking for delivery drivers with great benefits. Lacrosse Lumber, Grindstone, Columbia. It's 7:34.
93.9 Eagle Eye Traffic.
Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. Our roads have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you'd like to report a traffic issue, you can give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes, and we have breaking news immediately. And a reminder coming up after this newscast, a live interview with Missouri Congressman Billy Long. He is running for the U.S. Senate in Missouri. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station 93.9 The Eagle. The show Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
Those races before coronavirus, they are races during the coronavirus. Fox News will be races after the coronavirus.
That's your new White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, a couple of years ago saying Fox News is racist, and now she's going to be up at the podium taking questions from Fox News. I'm guessing that one didn't get by the information czar, the Ministry of Truth in D.C., which is where we go to now, Congressman Billy Long there. Before we get into some of these other topics that are affecting mid-Missourians that are coming out of D.C. this morning, what, if anything, can we do about this Mayorkas appointing a minister of truth? What can we do on that?
Well, it's unconstitutional to start with, and so we're proposing legislation to try and disallow him to start that goofy concept of a ministry of truth, arbitrator of what's fact and what's fiction. Of course, you know why it started. It started because Elon Musk bought Twitter, and of course that's still in process. But as soon as that happened, well, then they decided they need this, since they couldn't use Twitter to shut down the New York Post anymore and take down the laptop story that completely changed the election last time. If that laptop story would have gotten legs and grown, Biden would not be president. You wouldn't be paying $4 a gallon for gasoline today.
And here's more bias. By the way, New York Times wins a Pulitzer Prize this morning for their coverage of the events of January 6th. Just stunning that they get a Pulitzer Prize. Congressman Billy Long, also Senate candidate, 2022. What's the mood walking around D.C. over the past couple of days? We've talked to several folks, and I'm just trying, because I'm just a regular Joe Schmo. I was stunned that there was a leak of a draft opinion from the Supreme Court of the United States. What are we doing there this morning?
I think that we all were, and how many days? It's been, a week now, 9 days, 8-9 days since that came out. We still don't know who the leaker is, and so that's very telling, I think, in this situation. And they have been surrounding the justices' houses, some of them over here in Virginia, just a short distance from where I am here in D.C., and letting them riot pretty much and just, scream through their bullhorns in residential neighborhoods. And Charlie Kirk put out a great tweet, I thought. He said that they can do that. They can firebomb a pro-life agency up in Wisconsin and burn it out, and no one cares. Nobody, just like when Black Lives Matter burned down the entire country last year, no one did anything. But you let people come into the United States Capitol and take selfies, and they're still sitting in jail here over a year later for taking selfies of themselves. And some people say the cops opened some of those doors and all but invited them in. And juxtapose that with this attack on the Supreme Court justices' homes, and now the Senate just passed something today to provide more protection for the justices, which of course they need. And it's unbelievable that people are so ate up with wanting to kill children in their mother's wombs. It's just it's just unbelievable that they are so furious that they are no longer going to be able to do that unless their state says that they can. And of course, the mayor of Chicago, Lightfoot, she says that will be an oasis. Chicago will be an oasis for abortion. Everyone can come there and get an abortion, even if the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade.
There were some comments. As a matter of fact, I heard Randy Tobler on the Randy Tobler show yesterday. He's here weekdays at 4. And we had the comments yesterday with somebody, I think it was somebody on MSNBC, talking about how she would have sex with whoever leaked it in the Supreme Court, and then she would gladly abort that. And we had and I just couldn't do it because it was just, I didn't want to play it yesterday. It was just so vile and so disgusting. That whole mindset just blows me away. Congressman Billy Long hanging out with us here on 93.9 The Eagle. Right now, we're about kissing $4 a gallon for gasoline, kissing it on the cheek. Highest ever in the history of tracking gasoline prices, the highest it has ever been nationwide. Here's a fact. It had been going up since January 20th, 2021, okay? Here's another fact. General Todd Walters, NATO Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, was asked about, and people, because the other argument, well, gas prices only went up because Russia invaded Ukraine. General Todd Walters asked, Why did Russia invade Ukraine? Here's a fact. Okay, this is a fact. There's nothing at dispute here. He said, General Todd Walters said, because of the weakness of how we handled the Afghanistan pullout. What, if anything, can we do short of me walking to the grocery store and walking into work at 2:30 in the morning down Route WW? What can we do in D.C. regarding gas prices that we're paying in Missouri this morning?
Well, there's very little we can do in the short term. President Trump filled up our reserves at $33 a barrel. He knew a bargain when he saw one, and he filled our reserves up for the first time in a long time. And Joe Biden is dumping them out at over $100 a barrel. It has no effect whatsoever on our gas prices. It's just for show. What we should have done and could have done, well, and I go back to this laptop thing with Hunter Biden. If that story hadn't been squelched by Twitter, we'd be in a whole different world today. Inflation wouldn't be 8.5%, headed to 12 or 13%. And Jen Psaki, of course, she's leaving now, but she says that, no one could have predicted inflation. Yes, everyone predicted it a year ago. And when Biden first got in, and the first thing he did was stop the Keystone XL pipeline from being built. Just idiotic. Don't even get me started on his border wall. You know, what he's done down there at the border, let all these drugs come in, all these illegals come in, and now if they do away with Title 42 on May 23rd, as they are proposing to do, right now the Border Patrol can handle 5,000 people a day. They're handling or mishandling, I guess, 7,000 a day right now. If Title 42 goes away on May the 23rd, the estimates by the Border Patrol agents are to be 18,000 people a day. Now, again, they can handle 5,000 a day. They'll handle 18,000 a day, which at that rate, it would take 9.4 days to repopulate the entire city of Springfield, Missouri. Every night, you'll have a new Springfield, Missouri every 9.4 days, 169,000 people coming in less than 10 days. All these Biden policies is due to Trump derangement syndrome, and that's why we're going to take the House back in big, big numbers. We need to get the Senate back, and one way we need to get the Senate is to hold a ruby red seat in a ruby red state and nominate the person that can hold that seat without having to spend $40 or $50 million to hang on to that seat for Republicans.
Congressman, we appreciate your time as always here on Wake Up Columbia. Two questions kind of about the race. Number one, what is your reaction here? We're in the final week in Jefferson City. We still don't have a map right now. They're trying to get it done. It's been sent over to the Senate. Your reaction to that? And two, I noticed, I believe you said it was St. Joseph, I believe, but if you'd elaborate, you mentioned on Twitter there was a Lincoln Day event, and you basically suggested that Attorney General Schmidt went over his time limit and then left. What happened there, and where was that? This
was Lafayette County.
Lafayette County, okay.
He's kind of like George Jones, no-show Jones. He's no-show Schmidt, Chicken Schmidt, I call him. He canceled on St. Joe this last Saturday, which he goes about 1 out of 10 Lincoln Days at best, but he's second in the polls, so whatever he's doing's working. So just keep at it. Stay in Joe Biden's basement and don't let people talk to you or interview you or anything but what he's doing. But this was Lafayette County a couple of weeks earlier, and we were told that we would each have 4 minutes to speak, and we would go in alphabetical order. So it'd be Hartzler, Long, McCloskey, Olson, and Schmidt, and alphabetical. So what do? They start with the S's, and Schmidt goes first. He goes for a full 11 minutes. 11 minutes, and he runs out the door like a scalded dog, just takes off, and then they put a timer up front. And then they have Hartzler. They cut Vicky off at 4 minutes on the nose. A 30-second warning, and then a stop. They cut me off at 4 minutes. They cut all the candidates off at 4 minutes like they were supposed to, except they let Schmidt go for 11 minutes. So he's a favored son in Lafayette County, of course. So if he can't have it his way and do things his way, he's not going to show up. And I'm appalled that there's not going to be a debate in this race. This is one of the highest profile races in the United States. And in Pennsylvania right now, there's a lady, Kathy Barnett, African-American. She has spent $137,000 on this race running for Senate. $137,000. One of her opponents has spent over $11 million. Does that sound familiar here in Missouri? The other one has spent over $14 million. They are beating each other to death, just like this ad against Hartzler on her terrible vote she made to allow illegals to come into this, to get amnesty in this country, 1.8 million. And now she tries to defend it. But look at who voted against it. It's all the conservatives in the House that voted against that. But she's shot up to the top of the, or, real close to the top of the polls now with $137,000 spent. And so it's interesting, but she did it through a debate performance. So they don't want me on a debate stage. They don't want me pointing out their record of Eric Schmidt doesn't want me talking about his record on China or why they called him the 9th Democrat senator when he was in the Senate or why he'd run into the leader's office all the time. And don't make me take a tough vote on guns. For some reason, he was always petrified about the Second Amendment votes he had to take in the United States Senate. He doesn't want me bringing that up. Vicky sure doesn't want me bringing up the fact that she's tied with Liz Cheney, dead even in 3 categories, including Freedom Works, where I'm 100%, and her and Liz Cheney are 60%. Club for Growth, where I'm 92%, and they're 61%. They don't want me talking about that stuff. So the chances of having a debate, Greitens told Pete Mundo in Kansas City, if they could work it out, that there were, he wouldn't mind debating if. And I told Pete Mundo, I said, you're too young to remember Dandy Don Meredith on Monday Night Football, but Dandy Don always said, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. And I said, when Greitens says, if we can work it out, to me, it's if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Senate debate in Missouri, but I don't think the if is going to come through.
Congressman Billy Long, although not a debate, you are on a timer here, and I've got 1 minute. Anything else that you want to add? Website, likelihood of a Trump endorsement for you in our 2022 U.S. Senate race?
BillyLong.com. Go there. You can help us out, folks. We need help in this race. BillyLong.com if you want the straight shooter, straight talker. Chris Hayes put me on MSNBC the other day to make fun of me because I was the only one that immediately came out and talked about the abortion ruling and the leak. And the Republicans had put out a statement said, don't talk about abortion. Talk about the leak. Talk about the leak. And they showed Ted Cruz parroting that line and Lindsey Graham parroting that line and Mitch McConnell. So if you're on a straight shooter that'll tell you how the cow ate the cabbage, don't vote wrong. Vote long and don't be silly. Vote for Billy.
Congressman Billy Long, thank you for your time. We get text 874-9390. Why won't you have Eric Greitens on the show? Well, I'll answer that question coming up about 5 minutes from now. In the going rate for a babysitter. Does anybody hire babysitters anymore?
Yes. Yes.
Your babysitter's name is Chris, isn't it?
No.
Kidding. That's coming up about 5 minutes from now here on 93.9.
People are talking about Branden Rathert.
He's a jackass.
This is Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
Yeah, it just makes my heart swell, actually. When people donate money like that, the only thing we won't do is we won't take donations from the veterans that have been on the flight because they've already paid when they served. They're finally getting the recognition they deserve.
Reed Hickam, he does a lot of work with the Central Missouri Honor Flight, talking to KOMU Channel 8 yesterday. Several hundred people gathering at the Courtyard by Marriott 63 in Grindstone for a homecoming for the folks. And this was monumental. It's been, I think, 2.5 years since we've been able to do a Central Missouri Honor Flight where we take a bunch of veterans to Washington, D.C. And this is not a field trip. This is... it's an experience, and it's a quick, rapid-fire trip. And by the way, yesterday, those veterans, you know what, in D.C., you know what, they got police escorts. You know why? Because Brian Hauswirth learned that the National Park Service was yanking police escorts. We got in touch with Senator Hawley's office, Senator Blunt's office. Vicky Hartzler was on it, and boom, reinstituted real quick. And as somebody, so I've been fortunate. I've been able to be a guardian on an honor flight. What a beautiful thing. And when you know somebody that's been on it, wow.
Yeah, I watched my dad go on it, and it was a really meaningful experience for him. And I got to be at the Courtyard Marriott when he came home, watched the motorcycles come in, watched everyone line up with their flags and their signs and their decor, and they just do such a great job. And so seeing all the families and then the folks who come out every time there's an honor flight to honor veterans, and then one by one they come off the bus, they announce their name, they have an escort, they're greeted by their family, everyone's cheering. It's really, I mean, there was not a dry eye in the place when I was there, and I suspect the same was true last night.
And thank you for making that happen in the past during your donations during our Central Missouri Honor Flight Radiothon. We've got one coming up next month. Hopefully you can join us for that. By the way, I want to apologize real quick. I was teasing my little sister Stephanie over here, and we talk about, and I love the phrasing on this, Stephanie's not gone a lot. She has
an aggressive travel schedule.
And so I was teasing her about
Chris having to
babysitters.
But dads do not babysit. No. They watch their children. However, you were talking about the cost and whether or not we have to hire babysitters. We are very fortunate in that we have both sets of grandparents close. So we don't have to do it very often because the grandparents are usually really excited, and we are thankful that they are excited to take the children.
So I hope I didn't sound like a smart aleck when I was trying to be funny, and sometimes I missed the mark, and I didn't.
I'm fine.
I know, but it bothers me. My intent was not to be mean. Going rate on average for a babysitter nowadays, according to some website.
I would have guessed like $20 maybe, but I have 3 kids, and so I feel like too you kind of have to up your, depending on how many kids you're asking these folks to watch.
Do you get a discount for the more you have?
When I had them in daycare, yeah, if you got a discount on the second and the third kid.
It's always challenging being a parent, especially now there's, seriously, so at first it was one of those, there's a shortage on baby formula right now, but apparently this is really affecting a lot of people.
It's terrifying. Yeah. I keep seeing pictures online of empty shelves right here in Mid-Mo. It's scary.
And that's a challenge. And then daycare and hiring a babysitter. I hate to pull the old back in my day, but I remember it was a big thing, like $1 an hour was what a babysitter.
$1 an hour?
And that was good, and that was pretty decent pay. Average price right now, $12 an hour. So we get asked, how come you don't have Eric Greitens on the show? He apparently will not come on. He came on a lot when he campaigned for governor, never came on while he was governor. We have reached out to him numerous times over the years, including recently. We got a response from his office, but they won't come on. So it's got nothing to do with us. It's got to do with him. Last night, big news from the Columbia Public School Board meeting. That's at 8:10. Good morning. I'm Branden Rathert for Hodges Roofing and Siding. Hodges Roofing and Siding. A lot of folks around here, they do good work, whether it's roofing or siding. But there's a lot of different things that go with when we talk about hiring somebody that does service for you. There's a lot of different things. Okay, yeah, they do. Look, the roof looks beautiful. Look, siding looks great. But then there's other things after the job is done. Sometimes people come across, dang it, there's nails still out here in the yard. Well, the other folks, they didn't do a very good job of cleaning up. And that's just one of those small things that Hodges Roofing and Siding does. And I know you think in the overall scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal, but it is, especially when grandparents are watching the grandkids and they're running around in the yard and somebody did not do a good job of cleaning up. Just one of those things that separates Hodges Roofing and Siding from the rest of the folks. Hodges Roofing and Siding.
We've never paid this much for gas. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Prices at the pump hit new all-time highs this morning, eclipsing March's record shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine. AAA now puts regular's national average at $4.37 per gallon.
They say the reason for the hike is primarily due to the high cost of crude oil, which is more than $100 a barrel. The highest gas prices are being seen in California, where AAA says the average is about $5.84 a gallon. Lower averages are showing up in Georgia at about $3.90 a gallon.
That's Fox's Tanya J. Powers. Diesel also an all-time high today, $5.55 per gallon. Later this morning, President Biden will unveil a new plan to try to lower inflation, fighting price fixing and rising drug costs and making child care less expensive.
The president will also address the supply chain crisis. We've talked about how that's causing a baby formula shortage. Yesterday, Jen Psaki told reporters that the FDA is working around the clock to make sure that products are available.
That's Fox's Aisha Hosni referencing the White House press secretary. An escaped Alabama murder suspect back behind bars after he and a corrections officer on the run with him were tracked down in Evansville, Indiana. Then they crashed after a high-speed chase.
The inmate, Casey White, who was slightly injured, gave himself up, but police say Vicky White shot herself, dying in a hospital a short time later. Vicky White allegedly helped the convict escape after reportedly engaging in a romantic relationship with him that lasted years.
Fox's Todd Pyro. The polls are just opening across Nebraska. There are contested primary races for governor. On the Republican side, Charles Herbster, backed by former President Trump, is facing sexual misconduct allegations he denies. It's also primary day in West Virginia, where two Republican congressmen, Alex Mooney and David McKinley, are facing off. This man tells Fox,
I already voted for Mooney, and he's not afraid. He's not afraid to say what he feels. He's for Trump. People are afraid to say they're for Trump.
McKinley was endorsed by Democratic Senator Joe Manchin. America's listening to Fox News.
Economists are warning that sanctions against Russia could cause unintended damage in America, triggering devastating inflation. As gas prices skyrocket, prices for everything could surge even higher, making the current 40-year record inflation look mild. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to take immediate action to protect your savings by opening a physical gold IRA with my friends at Birch Gold. I'm a Birch Gold customer myself, and they have my highest recommendation. Just text the word PROTECT to 989898, and they'll send you a free info kit on how to get started. In my opinion, gold IRAs are one of the best ways to protect your savings no matter what happens in America or around the world. And the best company to work with is Birch Gold. So text the word PROTECT to 989898 to get everything you need to know about protecting your savings with gold.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 8:03. Robinson saves you time. Right now, 76 and sunny here in Columbia. Our high today around 93. We could see another record day today in terms of temperatures. Another warm evening tonight. Partly cloudy and a low near 72 degrees. Good morning, everyone, and here's some of the stories that we are working on for you in this 8 o'clock hour. Friday's end of session deadline is looming large as Missouri lawmakers try to approve a new congressional redistricting map.
With time running short, the Missouri House passes a newly proposed map for the state's 8 congressional districts that, if the Senate agrees, could be used in elections later this year. The plan approved by the state House is projected to continue the Republican 6-2 advantage over Democrats in Congress. It marks an attempt to avoid court intervention and break the stalemate with the state Senate before Friday's deadline. John Marsh, 93.9 The Eagle.
John, thank you. Now, this map does split Columbia and Boone County into 2 congressional districts. Reporter Emily Manley reports that boundary is in downtown Columbia. Representative David Tyson Smith of Columbia notes that Boone Hospital Center and Stevens College essentially would be cut in half under the map that is being proposed right now that's in the House, has been approved by the House, and it now heads over to the Missouri Senate. A Missouri congressman who is the House Subcommittee on Consumer Protection's top Republican says part of growing up and becoming a responsible citizen is understanding your debt has to be repaid. St. Elizabeth Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer watching closely to see if President Biden proceeds on canceling student debt.
The schools need to be doing a better job of advising these kids whenever they take out this debt, what kind of problem they're getting into, and their parents and all the high schools as well to help to explain to them the different career choices they're making.
PBS reporting this morning President Biden is planning to move ahead on student debt through executive action. Details of that still unclear. Timing unclear as well. Supporters say relief on student debt would help young people buy homes and also grow the economy. Hundreds of motorcyclists from across mid-Missouri escorting 95 Honor Flight veterans from Kingdom City to Columbia Monday night. They returned home to a hero's welcome. Zimmer Radio's Trevor Morgan was at Courtyard by Marriott for the homecoming. He reports 387 motorcyclists were involved. Each veteran's name was read out loud. $3 billion in ARPA funding is sitting on Missouri Governor Mike Parson's desk after the House approved the measure on a bipartisan 114-16 vote. ARPA is the American Rescue Plan Act. It was signed into law by President Biden. House Budget Committee Chair Cody Smith of Carthage says the money in Missouri, the ARPA money, invests heavily in healthcare infrastructure. It's a priority for both parties.
These are our FQHCs, CCBHOs, and those types of facilities, hospitals, different types of providers that we are helping them with their capital improvements projects with their respective facilities in order to serve people better.
Cody Smith there on the House floor. FQHCs are federally qualified health centers. CCBHOs are certified community behavioral health organizations. The ARPA funding also invests heavily in state IT infrastructure. Our news is brought to you in this 8 o'clock hour by Club Car Wash. You can visit clubcarwash.com to find a location near you. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 8:06. In sports, we'll start with Cardinal Baseball because we are your home for Cardinal Baseball here in mid-Missouri, 93.9 The Eagle. Cardinals were idle on Monday. They open up a 3-game home series against Baltimore at Busch Stadium coming up tonight. First pitch, 6:45 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Baltimore beat the Royals on Monday 6-1. They scored all 6 runs in the 5th inning. Royals heading to Arlington. They'll open up a series against the Rangers tonight, Globe Life Field. First pitch is at 7:05. Hockey, the Blues facing Minnesota tonight. Game 5 of their best-of-7 series. Puck will drop at 8:30 in St. Paul, and the series now tied at 2 games apiece. And our sports is brought to you this hour by Club Car Wash, clubcarwash.com. Find a location near you. 93.9 The Eagle Sports in news time is 8:07. All right, John, thank you, and great work this morning on television with Molly. We appreciate your great work with us as well. Right now we have sunshine warming up, 77. 808 at 93.9 The Eagle, 93.9theeagle.com. Our traffic is with midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Our roads have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri this morning. A reminder, yesterday was a state holiday. Many people in Jeff City had the day off, so traffic may seem a little bit heavier today than normal. That's because of the holiday yesterday. Roads, though, have been pretty quiet. We'll have more team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Once these were built, the work inside of them, shoddy at best, is the best way I can put it. It was plywood, pieces of plywood put together. There were screws, jagged things, things that would not be safe for students. And I would like to talk about transparency. That's really been the zing word at CPS, and I'm going to be transparent. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
That is Angela Jolly. Now, she is a former teacher, CPS, who is suing Columbia Public School District. She's saying she was run out of her position after she shared concerns. You might remember this a couple years ago. There were media pictures shared with local news outlets that showed these kids in these really, their boxes. I mean, and I don't think I'm trying to put any kind of slant or bend on that. And that was the company that Columbia Public School District hired to handle that kind of stuff. That's what they were doing. She says she was fired when she exposed it last night. Board of Education, they met and they voted to update their seclusion and restraint policy. Two things. Number one, I think that's against the backdrop of this lawsuit that the Columbia Public School District is facing. And also because law required.
Well, the state law requires it. So basically,
requires them to change.
They kind of had to do it, and they basically, of course, those pictures too. I do remember one of those pictures, if not a couple of them, being shown at a legislative press conference a couple of years ago that Representative Basie and Representative Ian Mackey both spoke at next to each other.
And I think more. By the way, we're going to bring on a parent here, Laura Wakefield, Columbia Public School parent. She was at this meeting last night. She is intimately familiar with this stuff. So those pictures from our school district, who, by the way, has falling test scores. That's not a talking point to rail against the school district. Amazing teachers, some amazing staff there. Those are just facts. Test scores are falling. Fred Perry, Inside Columbia Magazine, magnificent piece in the latest issue of Inside Columbia Magazine. So there's a lot of issues in my mind. Let's bring in Laura Wakefield, CPS parent, at the meeting last night. Laura, thank you for joining us as it relates specifically to this restraint policy. And I want to ask you, and if I ask anything you don't want to answer, that's cool. Do you, in my mind, and I have confirmation bias from time to time, I really don't think the leadership wanted to change this policy. I really don't. Number one, I think there's 2 points here. Number one, state law says they have to now. Number two, in effect, it was exposed. Do you agree with my assessment on that? Or as a parent, different take for you?
I would agree with your assessment on that. And I'm a parent, and also I'm an advocate. I'm in private practice, and I work with families who have children with disabilities. And I have about 400 clients at Columbia Public Schools. And my clients are the ones who started to initially reach out to me in August of 2019, letting me know that something was going on there. Their children had been at that building prior to 2019, and then they go into the fall of 2019, and all of a sudden there are these wooden boxes that they had no idea were going to be there. And then their children are coming home reporting that they were being put in a closet with nothing in there and being locked in there. And so all of a sudden I'm getting these reports in about August of 2019, and then some photos were sent to me and to other advocates who are part of Missouri Disability Empowerment. And we were all getting these photos sent to us of the boxes. And so we were we set up a tour. I initiated setting up a tour to go inside and look at these boxes in this closet. And we all went on September 4th, 2019 to tour the facility. So I saw them firsthand.
Wow. And these by the way, these made it to the to Jefferson City on the House floor. And again, I think the context is important here to show that this isn't smart conservative people complaining about something. This was a bipartisan thing in Jefferson City. I want to ask you this because in my mind, transparency, whether it be on the media level, I've had several dealings where I've said to some of the folks at Columbia Public School District, listen, you're not responding, and I've had to send them, here's proof. Here's proof. Fred Perry writes inside Columbia Magazine, and I'm quoting, I am most bothered by CPS's lack of transparency. We heard Angela Jolly. She was talking about lack of transparency. So August 2019, you guys, you're going, and were you informing school officials like, hey, or at least asking, what's with these boxes in the rooms?
Yes, we did. Several of us contacted, sent photos. Missouri Disability Empowerment sent them. I sent them. And another advocate, her name is Angela Jasper. She sent them. Angela Jasper and I both went to DFS, Division of Family Services, to report our concerns. They didn't want to hear it. They told us that, if we didn't know the names of the kids, and we had photos, we had proof, we had written testimonies of people, and we're sharing that with them, they wouldn't take our complaint.
Division, hold up, Laura. Our guest is Laura Wakefield. She's a parent, CPS parent. And she was at the meeting last night. She's an advocate for parents that have kids with disabilities. You went to the Division of Family Services to tell them in your mind about potential abuses of kids in the Columbia Public School District. And Division of Family Services, their response, I want to make sure we're clear on this.
Correct.
How did they respond?
They refused to take it. I had to push. I said, I'll file a complaint with the Child Advocate Office if you do not take it. I had to basically push hard. Finally, I said, bring your supervisors in here. We were not going to leave until we got all of it written out and turned in. We got it all written out. I have evidence of all of this. We turned it in and it was never investigated. We never got any kind of confirmation that it was investigated. We followed up and asked for even a letter that says it's unsubstantiated or whatever they wanted to do. Nothing. Never got anything from them.
That's heartbreaking. Do you know if they ever reached out to the school district at all?
I doubt it. And if they did, they probably engaged in cover-up.
Wow.
There's two other lawsuits, Branden, that besides Angela Jolly's, by the way, that you should know about. And it is the Shawan Daniels and LaQuisha Jackson versus Columbia Public Schools and Catapult.
Shawan Daniels?
Shawan Daniels and LaQuisha Jackson versus Columbia Public Schools and Catapult Learning, which was the private entity that was operating the boxes and the inappropriate restraint methods. But because besides the boxes, we also have them using a certain type of restraint system called Handle with Care, which is very different than what Columbia Public Schools uses, which is called Safe Crisis Management. And the big difference between those two restraint processes is Handle with Care trains their staff, and allows for something called prone restraint, which means they're put face down on their stomach while in a restraint, and it cuts off their breathing.
And what I find interesting, incidentally, is Handle with Care. Where do you usually see the phrase Handle with Care on boxes? I want to ask you...
exactly, a good point.
Yeah, my gosh. Let me ask you, what was the response from officials at the Columbia Public School District when you advocating on behalf of numerous parents, when other parents start saying, what the hell are you doing? You're locking our kids in boxes and urine and feces and all of these other allegations that are out there and the pictures. What was the response from officials in the Columbia Public School District?
They completely ignored my clients, and specifically I can only refer to Shawan Daniels and LaQuisha Jackson because their lawsuit is public, and you can access that through a sunshine request to the courts, et cetera. But I do have other clients. I can only refer to general patterns on them. But for Shawan and LaQuisha, specifically, they completely ignored them. Dr. Siepelman refused to meet with them. We have all the evidence to prove this in the emails. They engaged in cover-ups. They wouldn't follow their chain of command processes. They refused to allow Shawan Daniels to have a closed session with the board. All of these refusals led to these parents filing a complaint with the Missouri Human Rights Commission. And then after the Missouri Human Rights Commission investigated all of their claims, they found that they were substantiated and gave them the something called a letter for a right to sue. And then because they got those letters, then they filed the lawsuit. And the lawsuit has been in progress for about 2 years now. And Columbia Public Schools and Catapult constantly try to go through, all the delay tactics and the dismissals of different pieces. And it's not. Judge Devine has pushed it, keeps pushing it forward, and it has not allowed any dismissals. And so on October 6th, everybody has to come together, and Judge Devine will be setting a trial date.
All right, let me ask you this, and I hope, by the way, if you're listening, especially if you're a newer listener to Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle, I hope you're telling your friends and other parents about this conversation that you will be able to go back and download on the podcast of today's show, or you'll be able to go to our website and listen to it. Again, I'm going to ask you, and tell us whatever you want. Don't answer what you don't want to. Who at the Columbia Public School District specifically were you going to with these concerns about these things that, by the way, have now gone apparently to the Missouri Human Rights Commission, to the Division of Family Services? Who in the Columbia Public School District did you guys go to?
We went to the school board through emails and board meetings. September 9th, 2019 was our first school board meeting where we all showed up and brought this up. Shawan Daniels herself and LaQuisha Jackson herself showed up at the December 2019 meeting and spoke that they needed help, that they wanted the board to go investigate what was going on. They didn't get into specifics in their comments because they're not allowed to, but they were begging and pleading for them to go. And they were completely ignored by that 2019 school board. They went to Dr. Siepelman. He completely ignored them. They went to Carla London, the chief equity officer. She completely ignored them. And they went to Elise Monses, who is the special education director, and she pushed back, ignored, and engaged in retaliation on them. And also went to the former elementary superintendent, Dr. Jill Brown.
So, you're making some pretty serious statements here. Can you hold for a few minutes? Because I want to continue this conversation with you, specifics as to who you talked to when you say they ignored you. I want to get some clarity. I want to be as thorough as I can here. If you can hold for a few minutes, we'll come back. Laura Wakefield. And we do want to find out what happened, your takeaway from last night's Columbia Public School Board meeting. We'll have more with Laura Wakefield here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com, where you can listen live, you can watch
Wake Up Columbia with an eye on the world and a focus on you. 93.9 The Eagle.
Laura Wakefield, CPS parent and an advocate for parents that have kids with disabilities. And we're talking about this. The Columbia Board of Education last night, they voted to, in effect, legally, they had to update their seclusion and restraint policy because it wasn't in line with the new law that passed a year ago. Also, against the backdrop of a lawsuit, we are learning from Laura Wakefield, the CPS parent, that this is a lawsuit from Angela Jolly, who is suing not because of the restraint policy. She's a former teacher, basically whistleblower stuff. She's saying when she exposed this stuff, she was retaliated against. There's another lawsuit out there that Laura Wakefield has mentioned here on the show, and I want to make sure that I'm correct in some of kind of trying to encapsulate our conversation here on 93.9 The Eagle. You guys, your group, you parents went to the Division of Family Services to say, hey, whoever this contractor is that the Columbia Public School Board has hired, they're putting kids into boxes. This also went to the Missouri Human Rights Commission. You're also alleging you went to a former superintendent, you went to school board meetings, and you went with your concerns starting in September of 2019, so 2.5 years ago at the very least. You're saying you were ignored. Can you be more, because I want to be very clear here on what's happening. You were ignored, like they said, okay, we'll talk about it. Clarify that.
Nope.
And by the way, I've only got about 3 minutes.
We tried to have meetings and tried to get through the issues. And, you know, there would be some, quote, you know, listening to a meeting, but then they would deny the next level of the chain of command of things. They wouldn't allow parents to have, in some instances, when they wanted to meet with the superintendent and bring me as their advocate, the superintendent stated he would not meet with them if I were there. He just wanted to have, you know, meet with them one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And that's a very difficult power situation, power dynamic for these parents. They're not going to walk into a meeting with the superintendent without an advocate or a witness. Yep. And he wouldn't meet with them unless they were there by themselves, and he did not want to have me present to be a witness.
I'm looking at an article from 2020 when this went to the state capitol, and it looks like CPS officials just skipped the hearing. They had a public hearing where parents showed up, and CPS said, we're not going to answer any, you know, we're not even going to show up to answer questions.
Correct. That was the March 4th, 2020 Regulatory Oversight Commission, and Columbia Public Schools Superintendent Peter Stiepelman was invited. Helen Wade, the school board president, was invited. Representatives from Catapult, Aaron O'Neill, and Jess Miller were invited, and they declined. And then they invited Angela Jolly, and she attended, and she gave testimony. And I have the entire transcript of that testimony. And all of that information is shared. And it was from Angela Jolly's testimony that you hear it firsthand, as every, you know, it was a bipartisan commission, you know, interrogates her about everything. And she lays out all the things, including things like, you know, illegal searches that Dr. Stiepelman witnessed. Every day that these children walked into the building, they were searched with a metal wand detector every day. They had to take off their shoes. They had to have their backpacks searched, and with no probable cause for any reason. It was just a standard procedure that all of a sudden had to start just because you had a disability.
Man, and I know you have a kid in the Columbia Public School District. I know this is very passionate, and anybody who is a parent right now, I'm a parent, I'm a grandparent, and I don't know what's the bigger issue, the allegations that have been made, consistent allegations against the Columbia Public School District. The other thing, very consistency. As a matter of fact, it's one of the things Fred Perry includes in his Inside Columbia Magazine article. I am most bothered by CPS's lack of transparency in these matters. That, as a parent, will make you cry. It will make you angry when the people that have your kids for several hours a day will not talk to you. Laura, I got to go. I'm running out of time. We will talk again.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. I hope that you will direct your friends to the Wake Up Columbia podcast, wherever you download your favorite podcast. That should be one of your favorites. You can also go to our website, Wake Up Columbia on demand anytime. I hope you turn your friends on to this conversation with Laura Wakefield. Obviously, you'll find that in the 8 o'clock hour on the Wake Up Columbia on demand podcast. Weather today, sunshine, 93, approaching record highs. Heat indices, as a matter of fact, in some places approaching almost 100. Sunshine, 92 tomorrow. So the good news is sunny skies. Right now, it's hot. Stop by Club Car Wash. Get an unlimited membership, just $20 a month. $20 a month, unlimited. More details, clubcarwash.com. It's 78 specifically.
Fox News. I'm Chris Foster. Gas prices have hit a new all-time high. Fox's Tanya J. Powers.
AAA says the average price of regular gas in the U.S. is $4.37 a gallon. They say the reason for the hike is primarily due to the high cost of crude oil. The highest gas prices are being seen in California, where AAA says the average is about $5.84 a gallon.
Diesel's at an all-time high as well, $5.55 a gallon on average nationwide. Supreme Court justices can have 24-hour police protection under a bill moving through Congress. Fox's Brooke Singman.
Pro-choice protesters making their way to Justice Samuel Alito's home yesterday after staging similar demonstrations outside the homes of Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh over the weekend. The Senate taking action yesterday, approving a bill that ramps up personal security and other protections for the Supreme Court justices and their families.
And that Senate vote was unanimous. The bill goes to the House next. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. We do have sunshine right now at 8:31, and we are warming up. It is going to be a hot day today in mid-Missouri. We're expecting sunny skies. Our high today around 93. Clear skies tonight with the overnight low around 72. Right now, 78 degrees. We'll be at 80 by 10 o'clock this morning. Good morning, and here's some of the stories we are working on for you. At this hour, Mizzou officials say 15 pin oak trees around the Francis Quadrangle will be replaced next week. We're told by Mizzou officials these trees are now a potential safety hazard to pedestrians and buildings. The trees will be replaced. Meantime, campaigns to legalize marijuana, recreational marijuana specifically, and allow ranked choice voting in Missouri both submitted signatures ahead of the deadline on Sunday to get the measures on the ballots. One proposal would allow adults 21 and older to buy and grow weed, marijuana, for personal use, according to the Associated Press. While details are still being worked on, PBS is reporting that President Biden is planning to move ahead on canceling some student debt. East Central Missouri Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer, Republican, has serious concerns about it.
I don't, want to keep our kids from being able to minimize their debt, but by the same token, there's got to be some responsibility for them getting into this debt. And those are taxpayer dollars that they signed on to be able to be paying back.
His district includes Jeff City, Fulton, and Kingdom City, and 95 Honor Flight veterans returning to a hero's welcome last night, Courtyard by Marriott, Columbia. News brought to you by Hemi Construction. Our news time is 8:33. It is 8:33 here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. The Cardinals were idle on Monday. They open up a 3-game home series against Baltimore at Busch Stadium coming up tonight. First pitch 6:45 here on The Eagle. Baltimore beat the Royals on Monday 6-1, all 6 runs in the 5th inning. Royals head to Arlington, open up a series against the Rangers coming up tonight, Globe Life Field. First pitch is at 7:05. Hockey, the Blues facing Minnesota tonight in Game 5 of their best-of-7 series. Puck will drop in St. Paul, 8:30. Series tied at 2. The Blues won Sunday's game at home 5-2. Jordan Binnington, 28 saves, 17 career postseason wins now for him. He joins Mike Liute, Greg Millen for the most in franchise history. A couple of great names there from the past. Greg Millen was there in 1986, as I recall, when the team was 1 win away from going to the NHL Finals. Really good goaltender. Ended up with Hartford Whalers. Our news time, 8:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. Roads have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue, give us a call or a text. Our number is 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station 93.9 The Eagle. The show Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
Veterans mean so much to us, to this country, and we're showing them that we truly do care about them. My goal is to send an entire flight by myself. Seeing what it does for these veterans, what this flight has actually done to them, it helps them so much.
That's Katie Bernicke. She's 16 years old. She's raising money for Central Missouri Honor Flight. Been doing it for a while, and she wants to send an entire flight of people. And I'm trying to remember in her years of doing this, I think there's like 9, and I'm probably wrong, 100 and something plus people on a flight. I don't know what it's like now, but the last time we did a Central Missouri Honor Flight, I think it was like $300 to $350 per veteran that we take there for this experience in D.C. Can't imagine what that cost is today.
The fuel has gone up. It was 95 veterans last night. I don't know. I assume they each had a caregiver. I do not know that.
You've got guardians, medical staff, a lot of people that go and make these happen.
Absolutely. And it was a big deal. I know Trevor Morgan of our staff went over there, and I of course, a lot of the bikers and the Patriot Guard riders and stuff, a lot of them in our lot last night. Our lot was just full of them. They were really excited, and a lot of them were on the side of the road as well. But the turnout was it was huge right here on Lamone Industrial.
Central Missouri Honor Flight, our radiothon we're super excited. We've been working with these folks for, I think we're coming up on 10 years now on the Pulsels, and everybody. We have one of our listeners, Butch, who calls in all the time, him, and there's another guy, Steve, just all these folks, the volunteers that make this happen. It's a remarkable thing. I want to go back here a little bit, talking about the Columbia Board of Education voting to update the seclusion and restraint policy. We got so wrapped up in what this parent, Tara Wakefield, who's also an advocate for parents who have students with disabilities, some remarkable statements in our conversation with her. As a matter of fact, I seldomly, listen, we talk, the politicians and stuff we talk to, I appreciate their work. But politicians, seldomly do we keep somebody for more than one segment. Well, I'm always wanting to get on to the next thing, but some of what was in this conversation, my goodness, and I have grandkids, 4, 6, and 8. And I'm hearing some of these claims and the lack of communication. And as a parent, as a grandparent, that kicks me in the heart, man.
Yeah, I can't imagine witnessing some of this and having, evidence of some of these things and then going to the folks that are supposed to protect kids and feeling like you're hitting a brick wall and not being able to get at least some communication back. It certainly has to be frustrating, and it seems like, how many lawsuits now did she say now? There's 3 confirmed lawsuits. So it's an awful situation. And ultimately, I think a lot of this, comes down to, fighting amongst adults, right? And there's probably some personal issues and some ego and some territory issues, but really the real people who lose here are kids. And, I think some of this, we've got to get over, people's positions and their leadership and the fighting amongst adults and really get back to what's best. Let's all work together toward what's best for the kids.
Pride and ego.
Yeah.
Guilty.
We all are. We all are.
The updated policy, according to our news partners, ABC 17, says secluding and restraining students is limited to when there is imminent danger or physical harm to the student or others. For students with disabilities, it can be used in an emergency when all other options have been exhausted or is defined by a child's individual needs known plan as IEP. And it got me to we were talking average rate. Back in my day, I remember babysitters got like $1 an hour, and that was pretty good money.
That'd be right. Mm-hmm.
Do you hire babysitters?
I think I got like $5 an hour when I was a kid. And yes, wow. I hire babysitters. And I think the going rate when I hire babysitters is more like $20 an hour, but I have 3 kids. And so as the kids it depends on a lot. Like when you have babies, more work. Like now that my kids are a little bit more independent, they're a little bit easier. But yeah, I wouldn't bat an eye at paying $20 an hour.
Average price, according to some website, like in mid-Missouri, about $12 an hour.
Which is barely minimum wage. I know that you think that that's like a high number, but that's barely minimum wage right now.
Right. But it's babysitting. It is my take. As a 51-year-old white dude.
It's babysitting, but at the same time, I'm handing over like my most precious things to you. And so I will pay you as much money as you ask me for, probably.
What is the going?
Good to know, Steph.
Here's the other thing, and I only had one child, but I know my parents, and I don't know legally what it is anymore, but for some reason it was like my parents, they couldn't wait for the oldest child to turn 12 or 13 because legally you could leave the 12-year-old at home to watch the other kids. I don't know what it is anymore, but I know parents are like, man, I can't wait till Drew turns 12.
Yeah, I don't know what the number is either, and I don't leave my kids together alone or anything like that. But certainly there are some benchmarks of when they start going to free public school and when they can start staying home by themselves that are that you look forward to.
874-9390. What is the going rate nowadays? 874-9390 if you have an idea. Tara says via text, she says, I'm paying $17 an hour this summer. She has 2 kids, $17 an hour for 10 and 13-year-old. Oh, heck, your kid's 13. They got this. You need to hire a babysitter.
Oh, gosh.
Kidding. She says she was hoping for 15. She had somebody ask for $20 an hour for 2 kids, $10 an hour.
Well, and the problem is, too, that babysitter probably has to drive those kids to the pool and drive them to their camps or whatever. And then so those gas prices are going to rack up, pretty fast. And that babysitter is going to be asking for. And I know some people who pay hourly and then pay kind of expenses on top of that. But
and is this for anybody, for any parents that have to hire babysitters? Is this still a thing? Because it always used to be. Whenever the babysitter came, rule number 1 from mom and dad, besides don't kill the kids, was
no boyfriends.
No boys in the house.
I knew where you were going with
874-9390. Rick, what's up, buddy?
Hey, so back in like 92, 93 time frame when I was like 13 years old, I actually did babysitting and I was certified. I went through like, safety courses, first aid, all that stuff. I was making $20, $25 an hour when I was 13 years old, some 30 years ago babysitting. So it's not uncommon.
And why? Let me ask you this: why is because there's also this stereotype that only girls babysit. It's incredibly sexist that people think that. Why do you think that is, as a male former babysitter who is a male?
I have no idea. I did it because I liked money.
Yeah. Well, but that stereotype from people, it's you hire girls to babysit. Rick, we appreciate you taking time out of your day to be a part of Wake Up Columbia here on 93.9 The Eagle. 874-9390. 874-9390. Coming up, we are in the waning days of one of the biggest things that's happened. One of the biggest things that's happening right now. Legislative session in Jefferson City. And the best of Inside Columbia Magazine's Best of Columbia 2022. What I find, and you can get onto our website, 93.9 The Eagle. There's a link on there. But it's fascinating because there's questions on there that like, oh, yeah, favorite place to, I don't know, just to hang out. There's things in there that made me think about things that I typically don't think about.
Well, it's a good place. Like if you're trying to plan your Friday night and you're thinking, what haven't I done in a while? What place would be good to go and eat or something fun to go and do? It's like a good listing of local businesses to get out there and support.
And 93.9 The Eagle, the radio station here. So everybody involved, Anna, the producer, Brian Hauswirth, Stephanie Bell, Randy Tobler, who hosts the Randy Tobler Show, Gary Nolan Show. You talk about local and what happens local, whether it's helping the Central Missouri Honor Flight, whether it's continuous storm coverage whenever things get really bad, whether it's local news issues, whether it's talking about what's happening in local schools and exposing the good and the bad, exposing the good people of this community, people that make it go around. I'm being honest. I cannot think of who is a better local radio station. And obviously I'm biased, but at least I admit it. But I seriously, and you can vote. Last day to vote in this is coming up, I think, on Thursday. So you can get in there and you can do that. And I listen to other radio stations. Matter of fact, one of the first times I really got in trouble here.
Oh,
Can I tell this story? I won't.
Sure.
I won't mention radio station. So, Brett Dumas, former Wake Up Columbia family member, she and I, her and I, me and her, whatever the good English is there, we were driving in the homecoming parade.
Of course.
This gives me secondhand embarrassment for you. I've heard this story, and it still makes me cringe.
And Facebook Live had just become a thing. And do you know how poor I am with social media here in 2022?
Very poor.
Imagine how poor I was back then when it came to social media.
Hard
skills.
to imagine.
Hard to imagine. So we're in this parade, and I'm gonna do the Facebook Live. I'm gonna take video, and I'm gonna, and the bosses will be impressed because at that time I had only been part of this family for about a year or so, and I messed up, big time.
What did you do?
Let's do this. Let's take a break, and we'll cover that. Maybe we'll do some leftovers, too, here on 93.9. They'll open up the fridge and see what's in the refrigerator. We'll do that coming up before 9 o'clock here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com, where you can listen live.
Catch Wake Up Columbia on demand anytime, all the time at 939theeagle.com.
Experts I spoke to still scoffed at the idea that President Biden is personally responsible for having reduced the deficit. In fact, one advocate of deficit reduction, Mark Goldwine of the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, told me that this claim is almost bizarro world.
So we've run some claims by Joe, run some claims through him through the information, through the Ministry of Truth. And I think context is here, by the way, that is CNN fact-checking Joe Biden's, the deficit's gone down. That's CNN speaking the truth. Incidentally, before we move forward here into leftovers, CNN keeps saying they're going to go more straight news. Zucker and all the big names are out, and they're saying they're going to go more straight news. If I put the name CNN aside, I would completely, absolutely applaud that move. It would be tainted by the call letters CNN, but if we had a network, by the way, Newsmax, who they have their following, Newsmax beat CNN last week. They have never done that.
Wow.
It's that bad.
That's where Chris Arps is usually, right?
Chris Arps. I would be on board a national news outlet that gives, and I don't know if you could do it anymore, but that gives the news. And sure, I'd still want to watch the opinion pieces on all the...
Are you advocating for like robot news? Because I think as long as humans are doing the news, we've got a risk of some bias there.
Here's a big old serving of leftovers on 93.9 The Eagle. Enjoy.
By the way, I want to get to something here. Morning Bell. We do it every morning. We do it most mornings. 8:25. Business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give. You didn't get to it this morning because we were chatting with a parent about the CPS seclusion and restraint policy and lawsuits and all that. And I can't remember now how we got on. So Stephanie has a story about that. But we were talking about the parade several years. Oh, one of the first times I got into trouble here at the radio station. Facebook Live was a thing, and me and Breck Dumas, who used to be one of the co-hosts here on Wake Up Columbia, we're driving in the homecoming parade, and I'm going to video this stuff, and this is going to be cool. And so I'm in the car, and I'm taking video, and I'm doing panoramic shots and everything, and I post. And later that afternoon, I get a note from management saying, hey, thank you for the effort in including video of a big local event and the biggest homecoming parade in America, and the original homecoming parade. But do us a favor and be careful, because I had caught the radio station in the video.
The car radio.
The car radio, because we're inside the car. And it wasn't 93.9 The Eagle.
Ooh.
Yeah. Real smart, Rathert. All right, what did you have for the Morning Bell this morning?
Well, we know Disney already suffered the wrath of Ron DeSantis in the state of Florida, but they are now facing the wrath of Josh Hawley. Missouri Senator Hawley has introduced a bill to strip Disney of special copyright protections. So I think this act is called the Copyright Clause Restoration Act of 2022, and it's set to kind of undo some of the... What's the name of the other one? It's like the Mickey Mouse Copyright Act. So,
that sounds appropriate.
But basically, Disney enjoys some special protections regarding copywriting, and Josh Hawley's Mickey Mouse Protection Act. That's the unofficial name. But it allows corporations to extend copyrights for corporations up to 120 years. And Josh Hawley's like, you know what? Maybe we should rethink some of these other Disney special protections after Disney, has politically made some, according to most conservatives, missteps.
Right now, there's a large power outage in central Columbia, and this is affecting traffic lights. And you know how we get, man. Traffic lights, when there's no traffic lights, it's almost like the internet 1998. It's the Wild West.
Nobody knows what to do anymore. Like, just stop. Yeah. It's like a four-way, right? That's basically what happens.
Whoever's quickest off the gun.
No.
Be careful. That's according to Boone County Joint Communications. Finally, here in Leftovers, before we move along to Gary Nolan's show, I love this from Kevin. Says, Branden, we were talking earlier this morning, this Vicky White, she was the jail guard who took off with that dude. They were getting ready to throw her a retirement party back in the back break room. It was almost like her last day where they were hanging streamers and they had cake to go. She walks off with this prisoner. They're on the run for over a week. He was apprehended yesterday after a high-speed chase. She took her own life, and I shared the story. I dated. Now, I didn't know she had an affinity for robbing banks when I used to hang out with her in Idaho back in 2001, 2002. You can look this up. Hannah and Stephanie both fact-checked this, and I brought in photographs that if you were watching on our YouTube channel, I brought the photographs to prove that I was with her. She ended up robbing a string of banks in the Pacific Northwest. Went to jail. So this off the text. Tell Branden I too had a wife who robbed a bank a week after we divorced. Local bank in 2003, and then I tried to find her for the FBI reward money.
Yes.
You get points. My dad is stoked because the Gary Nolan shows.